Hello. I'ma do what I gotta. This city got issues. Lucky for us, though, I'm a one-man armada. Since nobody else really wanna step up, I'll take care of all this drama. I'ma do what's best. If I get knocked down, I'll start back up from the bottom. Get it done, baby, that's my motto. Have a bottle half full, cause I got a good feeling that this world truly will start healing. Long as I do my part and keep a head start, our future looks so appealing. Nobody else really wanna step up, I'll take care of all this drama. I'ma do what's best. If I get knocked down, I'll start back up from the bottom. Get it done, baby, that's my motto. Count your days, I don't care what city you stay. I don't care what path that you walk. The fact that you walk's enough to get slain, enough to feel pain, not so insane. To just let the smart people choose where you can go, what you can do. We are your friends, we're in your crew. We are like you, or that's what we say. And suckers like you fall for lies every day. Your choice is easy, just pick a side. But pick the wrong one and you'll probably die. Nobody else really wanna step up, I'll take care of all this drama. I'ma do what's best. If I get knocked down, I'll start back up from the bottom. Get it done, baby, that's my motto.
Yo, we're back. Man, it's been long enough for Wander to read all of AU. That's how long it's been. Of course, I know there's some people who've read AU in like 2 fucking days. Or some shit like that. So, that may not mean much, but... Yep. That shit happens. Anyway, man, that song, I always picture like such a, you know, like when movie have montage of guy go through place, slow motion, cool, epic, that. Was that in any way coherent? They unfortunately still have not invented brain projector, so I cannot describe what I'm brain having thinking more than that. But cool, great, good. Oh my god, I can't believe we're back. Man, I looked over. You know what else? You know, it's been long enough to have happen. My computer situation is, I mean, okay, it's not dire. It's not dire in the slightest. This laptop's only a couple years old. I'm told that laptops are only expected to last a few years, so that sounds better in my head than it probably comes off to people who know, but my lifelong nemesis, Microsoft, I updated my Windows and it ate WordPad. And I don't have Office 365. I used WordPad to create my stream notes document that tells me basically each paragraph that cues, okay, this is the last paragraph before the break, and this is the last paragraph before a song sequence starts. And now I can't open those documents anymore. Not locally, anyway. So I had to put it onto my Google Drive, and I'm just using it in a Google Drive tab now. It's a minor inconvenience. But it is my reality. Anyway. Yes, curse you, Michael. Man. We were chill until man, this was back in like high school, I think. When I tried to buy Minecraft Bedrock Edition for some reason. I don't even know why I wanted it. I exclusively play Java Edition, but for some reason I wanted to, I guess, see and compare the experiences, I guess. And I never got the chance because I bought it with the wrong Microsoft account. Almost said Microsoft. I bought it with the wrong Microsoft account, and it wouldn't let me install and play the game. So I just spent $30 for no reason several years ago, and I've never fucking let that go. And I never will. I've been wronged. Anyway. I will say, my relationship with Minecraft the video game, that's a kismicissitude. My relationship with Michael Soft, that's platonic hatred. I want him dead. For legal purposes, I must clarify that Michael Soft is not a real person, and it is a jokey way to refer to the entity Microsoft. I do not have any genuine murderous intent, and Your Honor, it was for the memes. Anyway. Oh, y'all. Of course I have. For clarity's sake, I've listened to all of Balance and Amnesty. I've listened to maybe half of Graduation, most of Ether Sea, and I've fallen off since then. Yes! Greg fucking Grimaldus! You still owe me $15! This is very true. And I aim to collect! Yes. Yes. Thank you. God bless Loop Adventure Zone. That's her name. Loop Adventure Zone. Okay, hey, be real with me. Is my chair noisy? It's noisy for me. Are y'all hearing this? Are y'all hearing this shit? I'm trying so hard to make it not do that. It's not working. Alright. Should we get into it? Because let's be real. Okay. Firstly, chapter long. Let's disclose that. Secondly, I'm just excited, man. I'm just excited. I don't want to delay any longer. So let's dive right in and recite the old welcome spiel. No, I don't want to make it the entire height of the screen. Thank you very much, but no. Just go to the top. Just go to the top, and there we go. See? It's not that hard. The ancient incantation. Folks, welcome to the 63rd installment of Your Words Destroyed My Planet, the stream series. Those numbers are not going to get any less scary from here on out, but that's okay. Let's take a look here. No one's new here. No one is new here, but don't worry. My name is still Harper. You can still call me KK. My pronouns are still they, it. Nothing's changed on that front. I mean, there's some bonus DLC, but those things are still true. If you are new, please read the chat rules. Wait, hold on, I gotta look at this. Awesome. Okay, give me the close button. No, not the dots. I want to close it. Okay, I can't close it. What's this? Help! Twitch is dying? Okay. Nope, that's not... No, that's... What the shit? No. Oh, no. Very tiny chat box and only trackpad is not easy to use. Anyway, here's what's going on. Your Words Destroyed My Planet by Unda is a 1.1 million. I get to say that now. 1.1 million word Homestuck fic that focuses on Dave's soul cat. It's an AU set in a future where Earth and Alternia have been consumed by a mysterious force known as the Void, and humans and trolls have escaped on spaceships for their survival. As of now, it is currently unfinished and apparently expecting an update in the coming days. What? But in this stream series, I do aim to read the entire fic out loud by myself. Because I'm a maniac. I have the autisms. Can you believe I'm considering doing it all again? Please take note of the tags on this fic. We're looking at them right now, and be aware that you may be in for the discussion of some sensitive topics. We in it. That's what I'll say. If you would like to read back approximately what I just said, you can type !fic about in chat. If you'd like a link to the fic itself on AO3, you can use !fic link. That's pretty straightforward. !fic song is a brief explanation of a very special feature of these streams, which is the pre-recorded song sequences. This command sadly cannot tell you which song is currently happening, but that's okay. Don't worry about it. I got 'em. Right here. I have in my pocket. Right here in my pocket. !fic sorry is just a couple of disclaimers / apologies regarding the fact that this is a live solo project, which means that corners must be cut. Some things not mentioned in !fic sorry is the instability of my connection sometimes. Hopefully we don't have problems with that. We'll find out. And finally, you can use !fic VODs. Nope, not fic VODs, just VODs. !VODs, VODS VODs. To get a link to my YouTube archive, where I will be putting every VOD for this series, as well as my other streams, which is no longer a sentence I have to, edit as I read. It says on my screen where I will be putting every VOD for this series, as well as my other streams. Back when I was saying this every single day, I didn't have any other streams. But now I do. I've been streaming Pikmin. I'm playing the entire series. You can watch it. I'm not very interesting to listen to when I play Pikmin, but that's okay, because you can laugh at me failing at Pikmin. It's wonderful. Additionally, this is my first opportunity to note that I have started... Guys, it happened. I started video editing. Like, super basic video editing. So, as you may notice on the VOD's channel, there is now Your Words Destroyed My Planet, the edited version, which cuts out this. It cuts out all the intros. It cuts out all the breaks. Yes, 25 of them so far, and it should have been 26 because I did go through 26 yesterday, but by the time I was able to upload 25, it was already midnight and I wanted to go to bed. And I like sleeping, so that was a very difficult thing to say no to. 26 coming soon. That's what we'll say. Oh, you have no idea how unhinged and deranged I can still get. I was talking about this yesterday on stream, while I was playing Pikmin. Fucking listening back to my own work. A lot of it, I feel like I could do better. And I'm so tempted to do a pre-recorded retake of the entire thing. I've given myself rules. I'm not allowed to yet. I'm not allowed to. First I have to publish the first act of Twitey, my own fic, and then I have to get a better space to record in, because this is just one big open room. Yeah! That's what I'm saying! I'm grabbing myself by the shoulders and like, there is something fucking wrong with you! Don't worry. Don't worry. The fixation may fizzle out. It doesn't look like it will anytime soon. Oh, God. There's something deeply wrong with my brain. There's something deeply wrong with my brain. And I embrace this. I acknowledge this. I openly admit this. And I'm not going to be ashamed by it. If that's the course my life takes, that's the course my life takes. I've said before, this fic was engineered in a lab specifically to appeal to me. If I don't live my life like that's true, then can I really call myself me? Anyway, all that to say, the edited version cuts out all the intros, all the after stream, all the breaks, all of my offhanded comments, jokes, stutters, gross sniffles, just anything interruptible. That's not a word. All interruptions, large and small, have been removed and filtered out for a Duality's Downfall Industries certified official 1,000,000% smoother listening experience. So, that's where we're at. All right. That's all my chat commands described and taken care of. So with all of that acknowledged, rambled about, shouted about, and more, what else is there to say? Except for, this is Your Words Destroyed My Planet, Chapter 63. You jolt awake with the imagined taste of stormy saltwater sea spray in your mouth. Reaching out on instinct, you find the other half of the bed empty, Jess's half. Not that your wife has ever been in this bed, on this ship, or alive in this year. It's still her side of the bed, and you're on your side, even though she's not here. Even though she can't be here. Even though she won't ever be here. Your phone is there, though. It's resting in her space, alongside the palm husk that Solix gave you, and the alien tablet with its translator. You pick up the iPhone, smooth black glass cool under your fingers as you fumble for the power button. The charge on it is precious, even if Solix took all of the files and applications on it and duplicated them on your Palm Husk. It was nice of him, but the Palm Husk can't do everything that your phone can do. Hopefully you can find a compatible charger soon, because you need your phone. The screen powers on, your lock screen flashing up the night of Jess's last birthday on Earth, the last big family event that you were all there for. You're all smiling for the camera, the view tilted downwards from you angling it to get everyone in the shot. The ache in your chest from seeing it is still so sore, no matter how many times you've stared at it. You swipe past your lock screen, tap the phone icon, and click Jess's number at the top of your favorites. Even if it wasn't marked as a favorite, it'd still always be on screen with your recent calls. You two called each other all the time. Nearly every thought you had was relayed to her, every dumb joke sent her way. In return, you got back a million memes. She'd take pictures of things and send them to you with the words, us. 2 trash cans together, 2 birds at the same feeder, a pair of squirrels chasing each other in the park. Coworkers would tease you, but it just made you feel bad for them. It meant they can't have loved someone like you two loved each other. Even after she left the planet, she still remained in your most recently called list. You keep her at the top as you call her yet again. The cellular network connected to this number cannot be reached. Please record a message after the beep. Your message will be saved in a queue and uploaded to the network of all connected ships to be delivered to the recipient as soon as the original connection is resumed. Thank you. The robotic Spanish voice gives you the message that you've heard hundreds of times by now. At the end, cellular infrastructure was starting to fall apart, or it was taken over for official ship communications. Networks were spotty, but they all rolled out this feature to let people leave messages for one another, letting distant loved ones know that you were about to get on a ship, or that your plans had changed, even messages for those who had already left. People used it for all sorts of things. You left so many messages for Jess and your kids after they left. So many, and not enough, all at once. The phone beeps in your ear, so you start talking. Hey, Jess. I know I left you one of these last night, but I need to talk to you again. You begin, and already you can feel your throat getting tight from emotion. I still don't know if you're ever going to get these. Like, on the one hand, I'm way in the future, and in this time, you're... Don't cry. Don't. Dead. But also, time is weird. I'm here, so maybe these get back to you somehow? I don't think they do, because I think you'd have done something different if you'd got them. Unless you couldn't, because then that'd be some sort of time paradox or whatever the fuck. You frown at the ceiling, as your weak-ass gray matter starts to soft boil trying to work that out. I'm smarter when I talk to you. Low bar, I know. But I don't know what to do here, and I know if I told you about all of this, you'd have a smart answer. No one here is going to believe me. I know it. I tried talking to Solix about it. I really tried. I know you'd have said to start there, and I did, but I was basically hand-holding the guy, saying about how no one can hold their breath that long, and instead of realizing that obviously our great-grandson is absolutely dead, he was like, yeah, the void is weird. Oh well, no more thoughts on that. He doesn't want to see it. No one does. They're all so in awe of this miracle that they were desperate for, that no one is questioning shit, you say in despair. You roll on your side, facing her side of the bed. The mental image of her watching you rant is so vivid in your head. You can see her patiently waiting for you to keep going and get to the rest of the problem. It's not that I don't want him to be alive and well. I'd love to have come here and saved the guy's life. At least then, it would feel like I was here for a reason. You continue. Silence hangs in the air, and you can visualize Jess's lips pressing together in a movement that's half sympathy and half a wince. You can almost smell the vanilla lip balm she always used, see the sheen of it on her lips as they move. I know it's awful, but fuck that guy, actually. I mean, okay, I don't mean it like that. He's our great-grandson, and the rest of our family were devastated for him. Solix was so upset about it that he did all of this. But you pause and squeeze your eyes shut. you never asked me to stay. You were always on board with what you signed up for with me, the spooky shit. Mom made sure I knew how important this was. I'd already gone through so much of it with Solix. I was supposed to stay. I thought I was staying there to die with the whole treasure trove of bullshit scavenger items. I wish I'd gone there and dropped it all off and left the planet with all of you. Then I'd be dead by now, and I'd have lived with all of you, and our great-grandson would be just as dead as he is now. You confess. But I didn't ditch the stuff and go with you, and now I'm here, and there's this thing walking around with his face, and no one wants to hear it. I can feel this nightmare energy off of him. It's so heavy even the others are picking up on it. That dream I just had was all bones and storms, but the others had a dream where this symbolic ice cream that represented him had been replaced with something else, and then there's this dying star that they're dreaming of too, and he can touch other dead people. He's attacked a ghost, but no one else is willing to see it, you exclaim in despair. You sit up in bed and rub at your face in exhaustion. It's not attacked anyone yet. No, not anyone living, at least. The best I can figure is that whatever this thing is, it's feeding off of the grief and relief from the dead guy's loved ones. It seems pretty physical when it wants to be, which puts me in the kind of nightmare realm of some kind of fae spirit or body snatcher shit. All that person comes back wrong genre of thing. I just gotta figure out what to do about it, or expose it to everyone else before it ups the ante and starts eating people or something. So far, it's not acted like it was going to do that, and I was staying up just in case before, but it seems like the emotional energy is enough now. Fuck knows everyone is highly strung around here at the moment. I've got some time. God, you'd wish you'd gone into space with her instead of doing this. Instead of giving voice to that, you say, I'll keep at it. I love you and the kids. If you do ever get this, then please give them a kiss from me. Tell them I'm so sorry for this, and that I love them. I have to go. I don't want to waste the battery and not be able to talk to you later. You don't bother waiting for the usual confirmation message that your message has been saved stuff. You power your phone off ASAP to save the battery instead. You swing your legs over the side of the bed and sit up. There's a stress headache building behind your eyes, making you curl forward with your elbows on your knees and the heels of your palms pressing into your forehead, as if the pressure might make the ache go away. There's so much wrong, and you barely know where to start. After a few quiet minutes of being miserable, it becomes clear that you're not going to get back to sleep. You should sleep more, but you aren't going to achieve that from simply being in the right room and wanting it badly enough. You leave and head to the kitchen, hoping that something to eat and drink will calm your system down again so that you can get back to sleep. It's what you used to tell your kids when they had a hard time sleeping. Get up for a little while, relax, then try again. Your heart aches at the thought, but you still follow your own advice. The kitchen is thankfully empty. You have no real desire to chit-chat with aliens right now. Actually, it's not a species thing. You don't particularly want to talk to any humans either. It's equality. You meme quietly to the empty room. Jess would have laughed at that. With a little translating from your alien devices, you pull together a simple snack of cubed cheese and chips that you found. There doesn't seem to be a good translation for the flavor of the chips, but you're gonna go with some kind of spiced flavor that's in the vague flavor neighborhood of barbecue. It's good enough for you, because that's exactly what it tastes like. You crunch your way through your snack without much joy and sip at a glass of water. You need to figure this not Dave thing out. You have to try to talk to the others into seeing sense. Carcat is probably a good bet, and if you can get him involved, then you can perhaps get him to help you point out the moments of obviously deluded thinking that Solix has. Like, say, how your great-grandson can apparently hold his breath in space for a whole day, or whatever. No one wants to hear bad news, though. That's always the problem. That's why pretending to be a dead person who is miraculously still alive works so well. The people being tricked do half of the work in maintaining the ruse. Jess would tell you to take things one thing at a time, not to get overwhelmed with the problem as a whole. Focus on what's right in front of you. What's right in front of you now is a need to get back to sleep and a headache that's absolutely going to be an obstacle to that. You don't have any painkillers on you, but you know there's a medical area around here. You went there when you got checked out for COVID, and who knows what other human diseases you might have. It was a little bit like being taken to the vet for all your shots and yearly checkups, although at least no one put you in a small crate to do it. Oh, and no one put a thermometer up your butt to check your temperature, so there's a few small things you could be grateful for. With a little smile on your face, you get up to go and find the medical room so you can snag a painkiller and go back to bed. You wander the halls, taking a few wrong turns before you find the room. When you push the button to open the door, you jerk back at the smell, and the sight too. Dave, or the thing pretending to be him, is in here. He jolts upright from behind a table and stares at you with those creepy eyes of his. God, why does this place smell like my college dorm? You blurt out, your mouth forever faster than your brain. Not Dave stares at you for a second in silence and then points a finger. Probably the rum. That is, indeed, a big old bottle of booze on one of the tables, and next to it is a bottle with just a dribble of some bright blue alcohol that reminds you of all the inadvisable cocktails of your stupid 20s. That's why it smells like college in here. Why? You consider your words carefully this time. Why are you here? 'Cause, he answers unhelpfully and looks at a big jar of, They're mine, Not Dave says when he sees you looking. He turns the jar around and wiggles it so that a pair of human eyeballs bobs and rolls around in the liquid inside. What the fuck? You squeak as the jar is jiggled more and the things look at you. They're mine, he says again, and taps at the edge of his own creepy black and red eyes. From before. Solix used them to open that big door to get me and you back here, but they're mine. Why would anyone keep those? You wonder, and feel your midnight snack churn a little in your stomach. I made 'em. Why are you here anyway? Not Dave asks, in a voice that sounds a little more annoyed than before. I could ask you the same thing. Why are you here alone and drunk with a pair of human eyeballs? You retort. Drunk is like how you do science. Far as I've seen it is, anyway. Not Dave snorts and leans over the table again to rest his head on it and look into the jar at the eyes. That didn't really answer my question, you tell him. Fuck your questions. I don't answer questions anymore. Not science questions or like, I'm done. So done, he says, his words not delivered that aggressively despite the venomous words. Right. Science and medical experimentation is a whole thing for your great-grandson, and if Not Dave is drawing on that, then it'll set him off too. Okay? No need to make the spirit angry if you don't have to. You want to understand why it's here, not piss it off. At least, not without a reason. Sorry. You apologize, and Not Dave simply shrugs a little and keeps staring at the eyes. Looking around the room, you can see that a fair bit of equipment looks out of place. There's empty packaging piled up along one side, some machine is whirring away, and there's a bottle of some kind of gel precariously balanced on top of a monitor that has some kind of wand thing hanging off the side. You've had 2 kids, so you're pretty sure that's an ultrasound machine, or a futuristic equivalent at least. You wonder if they managed to find a way to make the gel and the sensor not so cold at the beginning. That's just the worst. There's a puddle of the blue booze on the floor by it, and a dented bottle cap nearby, which helps explain why it smells like alcohol and synthetic blue flavor that doesn't resemble any fruit anywhere. I'll grab something to clean that up before someone slips on it, you say, as a peace offering, trying to be helpful and bring the hostility down a notch. Don't! Not Dave shouts quickly as he jolts up. It's fear on his face for a second there, not anger. Okay, you tell him, and hold up your hands as if to show him that you're unarmed when it comes to cleaning supplies. Don't, just... Better it smells like this than medical and cleaning. I can't do that. Can't. Not Dave can barely get the words out between the booze and the terror. That's why there's alcohol here, to cover the smell, you guess. He squeezes his eyes shut, and the world around him feels a little wrong to look at, as if he's not rendering entirely correctly. You don't think he's faking this. This is genuine fear. That's evidence in favor of the very horrible option that this not Dave in front of you actually consumed your great-grandson before coming here to replace him, since his fears and traumas are giving this thing some trouble. You don't know if he's still in there or if he's the shape that this spirit poured itself into, but either way, you need to be mindful of setting it off by touching on your great-grandson's traumas. Well, you can also use them against him to expose him, but that's a great way to get yourself attacked, and right now you're alone and have no real idea what you're dealing with. It'd be very stupid to do that. Then again, there's the possibility that you're dealing with a lost spirit that couldn't move on by itself, that it became something else and eventually took over or consumed your great-grandson's life to get its own catharsis through him. It could be something worth your pity, even if you don't have a lot of grace and forgiveness for something impersonating one of your few remaining family members. It's hard to have empathy for something going around with Dave's face on, especially after everything you've heard about the poor guy's life. Still, holding that against this thing won't help. Whether you're being cautious or trying to be kind, you need to be smart and work out what Not Dave wants.
Does anyone know that you're here? You seem like you were doing pretty okay before, considering everything.
You say kindly, and don't mention how he beat the shit out of a ghost before in a terrifying display of unnatural power that somehow alarmed no one but you.
Was with my sisters when you were doing your whole thing. Came here later on my own.
Not Dave answers you quietly.
You didn't want an audience for this?
You ask, hoping that he'll tell you more about what this is, beyond getting drunk and staring at eyeballs and messing with medical tech.
No. Why are you here?
Not Dave asks, in a not subtle attempt to make you go away.
I had a headache. It was stopping me sleeping.
You tell him. Not Dave points behind you, and to the side you turn and see a little case with a handle clipped to the wall. It's got the Red Cross symbol on it. You glance back at him, and he motions for you to grab it, so you do. You return with the case, and Not Dave nudges the jar of eyeballs off to the side a little so you have room to put it down.
Everything's in Alternian,
he explains, and you watch curiously as he picks a box up and runs his thumb over the front of the package a couple of times. He's not looking at it as he does so, but he's reaching for the bottle of rum instead. His fingers look better to you. Not like he's healing properly, of course, but like something that doesn't know how fast human injuries heal and is trying to fake it. They're not totally better, but you're sure that they shouldn't be this much better by now. Not Dave puts the bottle of rum down in front of you with a clonk of glass on table, along with the dangerous swish of alcohol inside that nearly splashes out of the bottle at the rough handling. He tries to pop the medication out and then winces, like he only now remembered that he's meant to be hurt.
Take 2,
Not Dave says, and hands you the sheet of pills.
I think my translator can read this.
You tell him innocently and scan it. It comes up as paracetamol, which makes sense, but it's good to check that it's not cyanide capsules or something. You don't know what kind of medication that trolls need, but would be fatal to you.
Solix and my siblings are really making sure you're okay, huh?
He says, and the tone of it makes you look up from the medication to stare at him. His voice is soft, full of love and affection for them.
Yeah, they've been really good to me. I'm really grateful.
You say honestly. Yeah, they're... The thing that's pretending to be your great-grandson's voice hitches and looks like he might cry.
They're so good. I love them. I thought I'd never get... Sorry.
He laughs awkwardly and turns away from you a little to rub at his eyes. You stand there, medication in hand, and stare at him. You try to focus on yourself. Is your emotional response to this display of pain being siphoned off to feed this pretender? You can't feel it, if that's what's happening. It could be genuine, or it could be a performance to make you drop your suspicions. You don't know. There's a beep at the back of the medical room, and Not Dave looks around with as much vigor as he can muster right now, which is to say he sniffs sharply and gets to his feet, a little unsteady, but evidently capable of walking.
He goes over to a machine and curses quietly before picking up a tablet and muttering about error codes as he flicks through it. What? Blood sample not recognized? Volume error? Sample too small? Fuck! He swears louder at the end there. Blood sample not recognized. You repeat. You know, like how it might if you didn't put human blood in? It wasn't enough, he says back and opens a drawer to rummage inside of it. What are you trying to do here? You question him. The idea that Not Dave is faking the agony that your great-grandson must have felt, or has stolen those emotions for itself, makes you so angry. I was in space. It's like, bad for you. Need to make sure I'm okay and not irradiated with, like, turbo cancer, you know? He says, pulling something out of the drawer. Your jaw is so tight that it's a wonder you get the words out. Like my son? Not Dave stares at you blankly, and then, several seconds too late, the spirit makes a correction. Your son, your boy Sam, who died, had cancer. You had to hear about it, and you never got to be there for him. And now Not Dave is throwing that in your face? What? No, Oh, shit, I forgot about him. No, I meant because space leaves you exposed to that stuff. Radiation and stars, and he blurts out. And you were out there for a long time, you say stiffly. Not Dave doesn't meet your eyes. He just says sorry again as he puts a needle and a vial together in silence. If you're not going to drink that, then let me have it. I'll need it if I'm going to get through this. Not Dave finally says. You know that you should stay, find out more about him, see what the results of the test are going to be. The most you can manage to do is say that you're going to bed, leaving the medication and alcohol on the table with him. You don't even get back to your room before the tears start. As soon as that wound opens up again, you can't stop the bleeding. Your son is dead. He died and you weren't there at all. You held him right after he was born, and you didn't get to be there for him when he was sick and dying. You saw him and the rest of your family off into space, and that was it. You missed so much, and for what? To be here? Also, you could help Solix get this Not Dave back. This is the only reason that you're here. If all Solix needed was the items, then you could have gone with your family and left them for him, but he needed you. You're the only one that can see what's happening here, and if you can't stop it, then everything you lost meant nothing. If you can't prove that your great-grandson isn't here and that thing isn't human, then you might as well have died back on Earth. Otherwise, there's no reason for all of this. Otherwise, you have no excuse for what you did, what you missed. Many miserable hours pass in your room, and maybe you sleep as well, but if you do, it's in the same overwhelming swamp of grief that you were marinating in when you were awake, so it doesn't make much difference. Eventually, both hunger and a sense of self-preservation drive you out of your room. People can drown in grief, but you can't give in to that, not after everything that you lost to be here. You go to the kitchen, and it feels fortuitous that Karkat is there and he's alone. You can try to talk some sense into him. Try to get somewhere with this mess. Karkat, hey. You greet him. Karkat looks you up and down, and you get the distinct feeling that you've not met some standard. You can't help but feel a little bit offended. You look like shit, Karkat says in Spanish, thus offending you verbally as well, but he goes on. I'm already making tea. Do you want coffee? I don't think any of us slept well after that dream last night, so you're not the only one. Coffee would be great, actually. You concede, offense overridden by the need for caffeine. Jess always used to... Dave? Karkat's voice brings you back to the present. His tone is gentle, and his soft but alien face is a picture of concern. You hesitate, but spit it out. My wife, Jess, used to say that I had a caffeine problem. If it helps, when I was dating Gamzee, he used to say the same thing about me. But it's not a problem. I can stop any time I want to. I just never want to. Karkat tells you with a sly smile on his face. I appreciate this interspecies understanding. I guess you don't hear these unfounded criticisms now, then? You guess. Dave knows better and appreciates coffee anyway, and Solix is in no position to criticize me on that. He's so much worse with those cans of what's basically battery acid that he drinks. Karkat scoffs as he makes you your coffee. I'm not even a little bit surprised. He seems like the type. Slamming that gamer fuel, the stuff with enough caffeine to make your eyes bleed. You nod. Karkat laughs, and you take a moment to appreciate the sound. There's this really nice tone to his voice amidst all of that gravelly sound, and you kind of really want to hear him sing something. He finishes making your coffee and presses the mug into your hand with a smile on his face, and you know that you're 1,000,000% correct in your verdict that he's the mom friend here. So, you look down at your drink and turn it around in your hand instead of looking at him. What did the rest of you think about that dream? I think it's fucked up, is what I think, Karkat answers, returning his attention to the tea that he was making. There's several mugs of it there. You wonder if he was going back to Solix or someone else and you've delayed him. Pretty sure that the whole thing is a metaphor, you say. Oh, absolutely. For a little bit of context, the funeral song for sailors is called... Karkat switches to Alternian for a second, and then back to Spanish, which translates to bones in the ocean. It's not exactly subtle. I'm not sure it's even a metaphor at that point. Your breath catches, and your hopes rise against your command. Is he getting it? It's about a dead sailor, like how your other dream was about that too, you tell him. Yeah, absolutely. Loads of the ghosts that came back were sailors. Then there's Dave. All of that was dragged out of the void and over here. It's absolutely what we're picking up on. Karkat agrees. It's Dave. It's coming from Dave. That's what I was trying to tell you before. You insist. Karkat frowns and leans against the counter. He brings his thumb to his mouth and starts to gnaw on the nail there, but he catches himself on the first bite and jerks his hand away, shoving it into his pocket like someone trying to kick the nail-biting habit. Instead, he purses his black lips for a moment and seems to think. He couldn't get into our dreams after he lost Bro, but that doesn't mean that he's not involved. He could still feel the balance after that, but he couldn't do anything with it. Karkat begins. Except for him ripping open a spaceship and killing himself, you point out. God, don't say that, Karkat says with a shudder, and you feel bad immediately. It's not his fault that there's something walking around pretending to be his dead boyfriend. Sorry, you apologize. Karkat narrows his yellow and red eyes at you, entirely correct in judging you for being a prick just then, but he seems to let the feeling go just as quickly as he closes them again. That was the opposite word. From what Solix said to you before, it sounded like your great-grandson could be kind of an ass too, so Karkat might be used to that kind of thing. You're right. He could still affect the void without his ghost. Karkat agrees, having valiantly moved past you being an ass. But from what you've said, there's more than one way to do this balance stuff, and I'm too new at it to know. It could be Dave. It could be bits of his thoughts and trauma getting tangled up with the balancer ghosts and influencing it. I could buy that. Or maybe it's all him. Maybe his dreams are different now. After everything he's been through, it makes sense that he'd be changed in a lot of ways. He's so close to the point. There's more going on here than just that stuff. I tried talking to Solix about it before, but he wasn't getting it, or he didn't really want to listen to me. You go on. Knowing Solix, it's both. Karkat laughs flatly and rolls his eyes at the entire idea. I'm serious, Karkat. There's something really wrong with Dave. Your words die as Not Dave walks through the door at that very moment. You freeze at the sight of him. He looks more dead than ever, armed with an expression that makes him come off like a guy who could murder 100 people without so much as blinking. His unsuspecting sister is at his side, Rose's hand gently resting on his back. Feeling better now? Karkat asks him, but Not Dave simply stares back. There's less alcohol in him for sure now. Rose answers instead, talking around Not Dave's empty stare. Did you throw up your brain too? Karkat asks teasingly. Not Dave blinks and shakes his head a little. Oh, you are speaking Spanish. I thought I was having a stroke or something. You know I speak Spanish, Karkat says with a frown. Yeah, but not to me. It threw me, he says back, explaining his weirdness away.
We don't really speak Spanish much anymore. It reminds us too much of our parents. But obviously it would be rude to refuse to speak it around you,
Rose adds. I got that. Took a minute is all. Not Dave grouses. Well, now that you're up to speed with languages, I made you ginger tea for your stomach, Karkat says, his voice teasing, but the expression on his face and the way he hands over the drink is ever so gentle. Not Dave takes the drink gratefully and then looks at you, speaking hesitantly. About last night. Don't, you say before he can get any further into it. You do not want him twisting that knife again. The thing pretending to be your great-grandson nods ever so slightly, moves to a kitchen island and hops up to sit on it.
Did you see each other last night? He didn't say,
Rose asks curiously and looks between the two of you. Had a headache in the night. Went to get some painkillers. You answer briefly. Not Dave is very deliberately drinking and not talking. Oh, so you got to see this idiot doing drunk medicine on himself. Not that I don't understand why, Dave, but needles and high blood alcohol content don't mix. Also, needles and a hand tremor while drunk don't mix either. Nothing in a lab mixes with rum. It was a really dumb idea. You could have badly hurt yourself, Karkat says. It was the only way I could deal with it. And I told you, I wanted to make sure I was fine. Fine-ish. Not Dave says defensively.
Your arm looks like you have a severe substance abuse problem, Dave. Equius is very unhappy about it,
Rose says tartly. Not Dave's eyes go wide over his drink as he stares at Rose and then repeats, Is?
Oops,
Rose says sweetly, in the tone of someone who has not made a mistake and is not sorry about it either. I was at least going to wait until he wasn't so hungover to throw him at Equius in the lecture he had coming, but oh well, Karkat says with a wince. Was there any chance that the doctor wouldn't have known about it anyway? The place reeked of booze, you point out. I cleaned up after myself, and I sent the cleaning robots in. Not Dave protests.
He would have worked it out reasonably quickly, I think,
Rose says to you, utterly remorseless. Great. Guess I'll go get a lecture now. Being hungover sucks, being lectured sucks. May as well combine them. Not Dave grumbles and gets down from the counter. He walks out of the room with his tea in hand. Rose blows him a mocking goodbye kiss and gets a scowl back from him in return. Is this, you try valiantly, normal behavior for him? Please! Dave wouldn't know normal behavior if it stood in front of him with big neon signs pointing to it. Karkat laughs and busies himself with making drinks again.
We have a history of alcohol problems in our family, and even though I've recently learned that Dave drinks socially, he doesn't usually get drunk. This is very clearly a way of him coping with medical tests while maintaining a sense of control over the situation by administering them himself, then using alcohol to suppress his fear so he can get through it. I absolutely don't approve. He could have really hurt himself, obviously, but I can entirely follow his line of thought. So, no, not normal, but his thinking is intelligible, Rose answers. Right, she's a psychiatrist or a therapist, isn't she? She's just going to see any strange behavior as a psychological symptom and not a supernatural one. You're unlikely to make any progress with getting her to believe you without hard evidence, and the odds of her telling Not Dave what you say to her is very high. Letting him know that you're onto him could be dangerous, so Rose is likely not going to be able to help you at this stage. I'm assuming that nothing unusual showed up on the test that he ran, you say, about the tests that he did with no one observing him and will now cleverly act as proof about how he's definitely who he says he is. You hate it, but it is a smart move.
I know that the outcome of his blood tests were classed as normal, since nothing was automatically flagged by the testing equipment. I'm not qualified to read into it any more than that. My experience with blood tests is essentially limited to reading routine tests for the dosage of psychiatric medications, and even then, that sort of thing isn't my responsibility. I just know how to read it. I imagine that Equius will be going over it all with a fine-toothed comb, however.
Rose tells you.
I'm honestly not sure if I'm glad that he did it or not. It was stupid as hell. I know that Dave knows how to do basic medical things, and he could absolutely perform a blood draw on someone else, but doing it on himself when he's drunk is so dumb. What if it had gone really wrong? He already screwed it up enough that his arm looks like a pincushion.
Karkat hisses as he clatters about, making still more drinks. Is his coping strategy for stress to be an angry barista?
But if it was going to be the only way that he could get through a needed test, then is it the lesser of two evils?
Rose finishes for him.
Exactly!
Karkat exclaims and slams a full mug of coffee down in front of Rose. Some of it spills over the side, and Karkat curses and stomps off toward the sink.
And,
he continues loudly, waving the dish rag in the air,
I can't even be angry because he knows it was risky and he feels physically terrible from the hangover, so he's already suffering. Plus, it's so obvious that all that mindfuckery that your parents put him through screwed up his relationship to needed medical care, and that's not his fault at all, which makes me a complete bastard for feeling anything negative about it, because Dave is clearly doing his best to survive and even be proactive with his care in the best way that he can manage right now. Plus, I'm personally relieved that Equius is going to have more data on Dave's current condition, so I don't have to worry about him being sick without us realizing. I mean, who knows what else your mother did to him? This will help rule some of that out, which is good, except it's also stupidly dangerous, and I want to scream!
You stare in wonder at Karkat's entirely fluent Spanish rant that manages to be furious and emotionally sensitive all at once. This short and loud alien is deeply strange, but massively endearing somehow. That said, you think if you'd got him showing up in the past on Earth, that you wouldn't have gotten past the obviously furious tone and exposed gnashing teeth as he yells. You would have assumed that he was some kind of warlike Klingon alien that meant to kill you and hauled ass away from him. Solix was obviously alien, and his teeth were unnerving for sure, but he just looked so... Well, there's only so much intimidation you can get from a guy who looks like he works in IT and plays Magic the Gathering in his free time. It gave you enough pause to figure him out, a pause you probably wouldn't have given Karkat. Then again, Karkat can speak perfect Spanish, so you would have understood him and his soft center pretty quickly too. Rose moves, and you abruptly tune back into their conversation. Not because she's talking about checking up on Not Dave's to see how he's doing with his doctor, subtly offering her presence as backup if it would offset any medical anxiety, evidently.
Let me know if he needs me, or if something happens, or if your mother did some experiment that gave him some kind of super plague, or unraveled all of his DNA like spaghetti,
Karkat says in obvious worry.
Of course, these are all entirely reasonable concerns. Until I see you next, Karkat, Great-Grandpa Dave,
Rose says formally, with a raise of her coffee cup, then sweeps out of the room. That was very formal, or maybe fancy, you note.
That's because Rose is very weird. It's genetic, and probably your fault,
Karkat snorts. The possible dialogue tree of responses blossoms before you in your mind. Attempts to deny that Rose is weird, that you are weird, or that any weirdness is your fault, all end in failure. He's got you there, and the only winning move is not to play. Instead, you ask, what do all the other balancers make of all this? Not the weirdness of me or my genetic legacy in general, but what do they think of the dreams and of Dave? Karkat grimaces a little and gives you an assessing look, as if he's weighing something up before speaking. That's got your curiosity going. What's he trying to figure out? Maybe it's your emotional state, or is he weighing up if he can voice any worries he has about not Dave being, well, not Dave?
I think there's something of a feeling that maybe...
Karkat hedges that intro so hard it becomes a national park.
maybe you're holding back on us. It seems like you know more about this sort of thing, and you're not saying all of it. That's the opinion, at least. I wouldn't really know. I'm new to this, and pretty much everyone knows more than me.
Ooh, that's Cinnamon Bunhorns and the Insane Clown Posse guy developing some beef with you there, then. I'm not used to working with other people, you admit. But I've got this whole language barrier with most of you, and you're all really involved in this situation, and everything is very tense at the moment since you've all been through a lot of shit. Things like that cloud people's emotional judgment, so I'm a bit wary about stepping on toes.
Karkat watches you quietly for a second or two, leaning back against the kitchen counter and seeming to stare right through your skin and bones to see what's inside. You have been through a lot lately, he says finally, his tone oh so gentle and careful.
Yeah, but... You try, and are promptly flattened by the power of alien concern.
But nothing. I can't bring your planet back, or your family. I don't know why the ghosts of your loved ones aren't here right now. I can't fix that. That is a lot to deal with for anyone. I know that I'm guilty of this, and I know that my Dave is the same, where you focus on a problem instead of what you're going through. But you're not alone. We're a team. Even if we're different, and even though there's a language problem, you can work with us. Be part of team fucked up life problems and clouded emotional judgment. It's a lot better than doing that solo, Karkat tells you.
You open your mouth and only manage to force out a few offended little noises. You came in here to get coffee and expose supernatural shit, not to get read for filth by an alien. Listen, that's not... You stammer out, and Karkat's face splits into a smug and toothy grin.
Sure.
He even has the nerve to give you a nonchalant little shitty wave with his weird alien claws.
All I'm saying is that if you try coping by trying to fix problems, then at least make it a group effort.
You kind of want to smack him, but maybe you could try testing the waters of this a little bit more. Alright, fine. I could share. One of the things that's concerning me is that dead girl, Vriska, you say.
Vriska is a concerning person in general and has been for her whole life, so you need to be more specific. What about her?
Karkat asks. Don't you think the whole situation with her is weird? She keeps showing up around Dave. She said she came through the door with him. She's been lurking around everywhere, and she's showing up in dreams, too. You say.
I assumed it was a trauma thing. She and Dave have that in common, and them sticking together wouldn't be too weird. Her showing up in my first dream with all the other ghosts was weird, but then so many others were there, but last night it was just her.
Karkat admits, and frowns in thought. At least he's giving it some thought. Better to keep pushing while you still can. Yeah, that's really weird. When I've tried to talk to her with solace, she's evasive as all hell and really touchy on the subject of Dave. Not to mention last night. You add.
Vriska is generally like that for her own petty reasons, but she has been lurking around a lot.
Karkat pauses and narrows his eyes, not at you, but like he's suspicious about something he's thinking. You didn't expect him to go with it this much.
I've got an idea,
Karkat announces, and then walks off without waiting for you or giving any more explanation at all.
What? Karkat!
You yelp and hurry after him. For a shorter guy, he can really motor.
You're right, her whole thing with Dave is really weird, and I think I know why she might be evasive about it. Thankfully, I'm pretty sure that I know where he is now.
Karkat tells you over his shoulder as he strides down a corridor. Oh, fuck, you really don't want him tipping Not Dave off to your questions, or to you getting the others involved. This sort of thing doesn't happen when you work solo. I thought we were supposed to be communicating. What are you doing? You ask him.
I think there's more to their connection than she's saying, and if I'm right, she's almost certainly not telling him about it.
Karkat says, not answering your question at all. Karkat rounds a corner in the corridor and walks right into the open medical area without even the slightest pause. You freeze in the doorway when you see Not Dave in there with the troll doc. Fuck, what was his name? You scramble for your devices and the translation program in them. By the time you get the application open,
Are they still applications? Do kids still say apps in the future? Apologies are already underway. I said I'm sorry, Carquette says defensively. You do have an open door policy, and you left the door open for me, Not Dave points out. That was for your comfort, not for audience participation, the doctor grumbles, giving Carquette a look that suggests that he should leave. It's fine, Aqueous, Not Dave mutters. Did you have a reason for busting in here with the old man, Carquette? Hey, fuck you! I'm 52, that's not old! You snap at him, offense overriding your caution about whatever kind of supernatural horror Not Dave is. Technically, he says, in Spanish this time, you're like 123. Super old. Ancient. Trolls can live way longer than that, Carquette shrugs. Wait, what? Were you always going to outlive my great-grandson? You ask in surprise, because if so, that's a built-in tragedy all of its own. Actually, the topic of how long different trolls live based on their blood color and whether that's natural and genetic or if it's because of how fucked up our society has historically been is really complex and interesting. It's also a really loaded topic because of our history, but I could send a few links to— Oh my fuck, I sound like Cankry. This isn't even why I came here! Carquette gets louder and louder as he goes on, leaving all of you to watch him in interest. The doctor says something in a passive-aggressive tone, and you look down to see that the translator is spat out. By all means, come into my workplace, distract my patient, and then talk in a language that I don't, so you can exclude me. Carquette switches back to his own language and apparently says, Sorry, Aqueous, I needed to talk to Dave about something, and I needed this Dave to understand as well. I didn't mean to derail everything. I kind of appreciate the break. This dumb shit is very not medical, so it's a breather. Not Dave agrees in Alternian, making the doctor relax and wave his hand in a sort of go on then motion. So why did you burst in here with the universe's oldest human man? Not Dave asks in Spanish again. Fuck you, you retort immediately. Vriska was in our dream again last night. That's twice now, Carquette says, ignoring all of the age stuff. Rip, so sorry for you. Not Dave replies flatly, way too unbothered by this. No, shut up. Dave said that this whole thing was strange, and he's right. She came through with you, and she's barely left you alone since. Not to mention that she's been showing up in dreams where I'd expect you to be if you were still a balancer. I thought it was a trauma or a guilt thing with her, but I think something else is going on with her, and with you too, Carquette insists. Not Dave pulls back a little, no longer teasing or playing. He looks uneasy, found out, perhaps. Clearly he's not a fan of people questioning anything about what he is or why he's here. What are you saying? He asks. I'm saying that normally you get a ghost and that's it, you're a balancer. But yours died and you didn't, so you weren't really a balancer anymore. You told me that your mother was trying to attach Vriska and Aranya together, and it didn't work. That she made balancers by force, not to mention all that shit she did with Matuna and Psionic. Carquette lists off. Get to the point, please. Less of this. Not Dave says, squeezing his eyes shut and looking incredibly tense. The doctor calls his name ever so softly, but Not Dave holds a shaking hand up to pause him for now. Sorry. My point is that if you can do this with bad science, then maybe it can happen naturally. You and Vriska have similarities in your pasts, and you were together in the void. What if the reason that she's showing up in balancer dreams, and the reason she's still here is because she's yours? That she's your ghost now, a balancer ghost? Carquette says. I'm pretty sure I'd know about that. Wouldn't I? Not Dave says, sounding less certain as he goes on. You've avoided anything to do with balancing. You're retired. She's also not bro, so I imagine she wouldn't feel exactly the same. The connection might not feel immediately familiar, but you could try bringing her here to find out, Carquette suggests. You're not sure about this. You can't make your mother show up anywhere. You've been able to hope and ask nicely, but you don't think that you could ever make her appear like these guys seem to do. You could just have better manners, or perhaps your mother possesses such strength of will that she doesn't do anything unless she wants to. You could buy that for sure. Not Dave shuts his weird eyes and frowns a little. For a moment, nothing happens, and then, out of thin air, Vriska appears. An argument breaks out between them in Alternian that your translator only gets half of, because it still can't hear ghosts. Luckily, Karkat steps closer to you and quietly gives you the Cliff Notes summary of what's going on here. They're talking about how she didn't agree to be his ghost. In fact, she explicitly told him she wasn't going to do that. He's getting angry at the fact that balancing is a thing he could possibly do now, and how it threatens his retirement. He doesn't want to balance with her either, and now it's just a cycle of them offending each other about the other one saying that they didn't want to do this anyway, and getting offended at the rejection because the other one is saying the same. Like, how dare you not want to work with me? I'm great, and I don't want to work with you anyway. Back and forth. The circle of stupidity is complete.
Man, fuck you, Not Dave says to Karkat.
I love that,
Karkat says back immediately. Not Dave stammers out, his skin flushing immediately. God, you remember Sophia's partner was like that too. Whenever they got embarrassed, their pale skin would flare bright red and give them away immediately. You heard Sophia go on and on about how cute they were for years, and that was definitely on the list of things she liked. It's so strange to see those features here too. Or stolen for imitation purposes in this case. Vriska shakes her head despairingly and starts talking again, so Not Dave drops his focus from Karkat, or perhaps takes the opportunity to not be so embarrassed by him, and goes back to talking to her.
Yeah, it's like we agreed. I'm done with this, and you're not working for any more Striders. I'm not making you do shit. I'm over being made to do things, or making anyone else do it either. No more. It ends here.
Not Dave says, and as you're looking at your translator, you feel that pull, that darkness that you felt on the island before, that inhuman force. By the time you look up at him, it's gone, and the fake human mask is solidly back up. You nudge Karkat in the arm. Ask her about the dream, about why she was on the beach and what she wasn't telling us about it. Not Dave says something quickly to Vriska, who flips you off and vanishes before Karkat can even ask your question. He tipped her off!
She doesn't have to answer anything. I'm sure as shit not making her. We're done.
Not Dave tells you directly, straight up admitting to interfering.
Sure! Anyway, we'll get out of your hair. Thanks for confirming about Vriska. I thought something was weird there. I'll see you later. Let me know if you two need me. Sorry for taking up your time, Equius.
You get to see Karkat's words scroll across your translator as he hastily drags you from the room and shuts the door after you both.
What the hell?
You ask him, alone again in the hallway.
Forgive me for stopping a disaster before it starts. You obviously want answers about the whole Vriska thing, but pushing and questioning Dave in a medical setting is absolutely going to make him shut down and damage his recovery, especially when he's already said no. Trying to push past that is going to mentally take him right back to his mother's lab, and I'm not letting that happen.
Karkat insists. How convenient for the thing pretending to be your great-grandson. He gets a free pass to not answer questions, all because of the horrendous shit that your actual descendant went through.
Cool. Fine. Look, when he was talking to that ghost, did you feel... I don't know what you'd call it, but that dark pull of energy? Like, the thing I could sense back on the volcanic island when you were all watching me and I didn't know it? Did you feel that?
You ask instead. Karkat frowns and seems to think about it for a moment before saying...
I'm not sure. I was thinking about Dave too much, so I probably wasn't paying attention to it.
It's not that you don't respect the whole swooning over your partner thing. You get that. It'd make this whole situation a lot easier for you if Karkat could get the hearts out of his eyes and actually look at the situation objectively, though. You take his hand and lead him away from any eavesdropping, unnatural imposters. You don't need to tip that thing off to your thoughts.
Look, I need you to pay attention here, and I need you to not tell him about this.
You say to Karkat, only for him to abruptly dig his heels in and stop you in your tracks.
I'm not keeping secrets from Dave,
Karkat tells you firmly, his thick eyebrows furrowed into the most stern expression possible. It takes so much effort to not scream at him that there is no other Dave. There's just you and that thing in there that's pretending. You manage to bite back the words through sheer force of will.
Then I need you to actually think about this shit. I've been doing this longer than you, and I'm telling you that I can feel that same darkness around him as I could on that island. And it's not because of that Vriska girl. It showed up when he pulled her over, but it's not coming from her. You insist. I'll ask the others to pay attention to it. God, I hope he's not radioactive with void stuff from being in there, but I don't even know if that's a thing. I don't know what to do about that. Dave, though, I can't hide that from him if there's something wrong with him. Karkat says gently, even though it makes you want to scream. Don't tell him, or at least don't say anything until you've seen it for yourself. We don't have any proof of anything yet, right? You suggest. Maybe if you can get him to see this, then he'll really see what's going on and get it for himself. That's probably a good idea, given that so far I think it's only been you who's seen this. Karkat says, and pauses to give you an assessing look before continuing in a tone that suggests he's being cautious with his words. Everyone has been through a lot, and there's no point in making things worse by jumping to conclusions. Right, so you'll keep this to yourself until you see it for yourself? You check with him. Sure, I don't want to stress Dave out if this is nothing, Karkat says, making you relax. I'll say something about this eventually, but until I see that there's something worth talking about, then I'm not going to give him more to deal with right now. I'm sure his therapist will appreciate that. Hell, since I'm still waiting to talk to mine, I'm just going to assume that mine would appreciate me being sensible as well. Thank you. All I want is for you to really see what's going on here. This isn't right, you say in relief. Thank goodness that Karkat isn't going to tip your hat to the imposter immediately. Karkat nods a few times and then looks at you, just a little too carefully, and in a too gentle voice asks, Have you looked at speaking to a therapist as well? I know that Rose was going to recommend someone Spanish speaking to you, but obviously she's got a lot on her mind at the moment, so... You suck a sharp breath in through your teeth and keep them clenched to bite back the 100 outraged things you could say in response. He thinks that you're imagining this or blowing it out of proportion because you're upset or traumatized or whatever the fuck. He's not listening to you at all. I haven't done it yet, you manage to say, instead of giving in to the frustration and anger that you feel bubbling inside of you and threatening to boil over. It'd probably be a good idea. Dave found it hard to do as well, but it's definitely worth it when you find the right person, Karkat says, shooting for reassuring. You don't scream that his Dave is dead, and instead mutter something about how you'll think about it, and then you leave before you can screw this up entirely. You stalk angrily back to your room and throw yourself face down on the mattress. You're clearly not going to get anywhere with Karkat, are you? Solix doesn't want to hear it. The Juggalo straight up creeps you out. Karkat's convinced that you're seeing problems where there aren't any, and that just leaves you with cinnamon buns. Aradia. You tried to talk to her before with her girlfriend, but you didn't really get anywhere with that. She was entirely willing to concede that not Dave seemed different to your great-grandson, not that you put it that way at the time, but she was more of the opinion that he was putting out bad vibes due to trauma. This sucks. You're stuck in a waiting game. You can't get any backup on this until Not Dave does something obviously inhuman, and you can't do much more anyway until you work out just what he is and what he wants. The downside is that by the time he does that, there will likely be a body count, and that's the last thing you want. You've lost enough people already. You cannot bear to lose more. You call Jess again, letting it go through to the message forwarding service. I can't get through to anyone, Jess. They don't want to hear it, or they pretty obviously think that I'm just being jumpy over nothing because of trauma or whatever. You know that's not totally fair. Obviously, you've been through what could unanimously be agreed to be some shit. You've done the therapy thing before, a little, but it's only ever been for super specific problems, like how the pandemic did a number on you with anxiety and low mood, like it did with basically everyone. You've never wanted to go for anything more than that because I see dead people and I have supernatural powers is a one-way ticket to antipsychotics that you absolutely do not need, and you sure as shit never wanted that on your medical records. That could be different here, theoretically, but this doesn't seem like the time to risk it and find out. I can't lose anyone else. You, the kids, Mom, it's too much already, and Now I have our great-grandchildren to think about, and if I lose them to this imposter that's circling like a shark, I'll... You can't finish the thought. You cut the message short and turn your phone off once more. So, what now? You don't know what you're going to do until you get a look at what this imposter really is beneath the Dave mask. And until you can pull that mask very firmly off, it doesn't look like you'll have any backup at all. You need to do exactly what you'd advise against. You need to escalate shit. When dealing with supernatural beings or forces, your course of action should be to soothe them and guide them on when you can, to placate them or to resolve their problems. What you should never do is go around like you're the goddamn Ghostbusters and pick fights with things. When you'd first shown Sophia the ropes with this stuff, you'd needed to give that advice repeatedly, especially after you let her watch too many Saturday morning cartoons and she'd absorbed all kinds of dumb ideas about defeating evil. Now there's a thought. When you first got here, Sophia and her son were right there with your mother, helping you shut the door through space and time that Solix had made. After that point, you've not been able to talk to her at all. She and her son have bailed whenever they've caught sight of you. The only explanation that you got from that was a feeling that your mother had passed on, advising you to give her some room to do that. It's understandable that she needs some time to process you being alive again. Ghosts are usually hung up on things in their past, after all. You're probably a pretty big part of hers, and you suddenly being alive again must be a lot for her. Unfortunately, time isn't a resource that you're especially flush with at the moment, and Sophia always believed you when it came to the supernatural. Sure, she didn't always want to do things your way when she was learning, but she always believed you. You need to find her and get her help, or at least get her view on what this imposter is. She may be able to see him differently from her side. She was around him before, wasn't she? Whatever the thing pretending to be your great-grandson is, he doesn't seem hostile to ghosts, so Sophia was fine. You need to know what she knows. You'd also like to spend time with your daughter, that goes without saying, but if she's not ready for that yet, then you can wait for her to be ready. This not Dave situation is a little bit more time-sensitive. With a new mission in mind, you leave your room. Regrettably, your earlier thoughts have lodged the Ghostbusters theme song right in your brain. It's all up in the worlds and folds of your cerebellum, and you doubt that shit's going anywhere soon. You find one of your great-grandsons and one of your great-granddaughters in the main room, sitting side by side on a sofa with one on a futuristic laptop and another on one of those alien tablets. Roxy, Dirk, you guess, suddenly less sure which of the male triplets you're looking at here. Ooh, he says with a wince. I'm 100% certain that you guessed that. Embarrassing. You will be deducted great-grandpa points for that one. You're identical. I feel like that's an important thing to put forward in my defense. You protest.
If it helps, Hal's got some scarring here from one of the times that he got blown up, though that's looking like it might fade completely after a while. Having a doctor for a boyfriend does have some medical benefits. Among other benefits, of course. Wink,
Roxy says, saying wink aloud. The triplet in front of you doesn't have any scarring at his temple where Roxy indicated, so you did guess correctly. Surely you should get extra credit for that, right? You two should get different haircuts or something. You grumble. No, I had this haircut first. I called it, Dirk says emphatically, defensive out of nowhere in a way that gives you the impression that this argument has come up so many times before that it will most certainly never end. Behind him, Roxy is making a quick gesture across her throat and shaking her head ever so slightly, a silent and urgent plea for you to drop the topic before it gets started. You are happy to oblige. Hey, have you seen my daughter around? Your grandmother, I guess? Since everyone can see ghosts now, it seems like that's a thing I can ask people, which is still nuts to me. You ask, obliviously derailing the whole haircut debate.
Actually, I saw her earlier. She went that way, toward the equipment room. She was with her uncle, too, if that helps.
Roxy says quickly. About 20 minutes ago, Dirk adds after a glance at his device to check the time. Awesome, thanks. I'm gonna... Your attempt to leave is halted by Dirk catching hold of your sleeve as you go to move past him.
Actually, I want your palm husk. I've been busy splicing together our software and Hal's AI stuff, and I've made a lot of improvements to the translator that you've been using," Roxy says and holds out her hand.
Well, you're not going to say no to understanding people better. You put your hand in your pocket and pull out your phone and your palm husk. You hand the alien thing over and let her do her thing.
In other good news, I couldn't find any charging cables for that relic you've got there, but I did get the specs for the cable and the components online. It's not what we normally make, but I've got someone at our company to make a brand new charger for you that won't brick the whole device, including a power block that'll output 5 volts. Apparently it'll do more, but I figured you wouldn't want to push an antique. The charger should be here tonight or tomorrow. I should also be able to replace any hardware that dies in that thing. I'd want to properly scan it and take it apart to be sure that what Apple said they made is what's actually there, but it should all be good.
Dirk informs you.
Oh, wow. That's probably a good idea. Apple wasn't always the best with letting people repair their stuff, and I wouldn't be shocked if they lied a little, but wow, you 3 are so smart. Holy shit. Thank you so much,
you say, overwhelmed with awe and gratitude in equal measure. You don't have to ration your battery anymore. You can keep your last technological tether to your home.
You're welcome. I'm sure that being here is overwhelming and scary as hell, and I want to do anything we can to help,
Dirk says earnestly, and you feel a little bit like you could cry.
Which is a perfect lead-in to me helping right now. Let me show you this.
Roxy beams and holds your palm husk. Holds up your palm husk. God damn. I can't read. I've lost the ability to read. In the last 1 second. You lean over the sofa to see the screen better.
I've mapped the translator to this button on the side. You can press it and it'll just start doing its thing. You can scroll up through everything that's been said and it'll color code it for different people. It'll also tell you who is speaking.
Solix's thing could separate people pretty well, and it could tell most people apart, but it didn't do well with Hal and Dirk. I also noticed that it sometimes got your sister, the older one, Jane. It sometimes got Jane confused with Rose's girlfriend if she was talking a certain way,
you say. Roxy lowers the palm husk a little and frowns as Dirk makes a thoughtful, huh, sort of noise.
You know, I can kind of see that if you think about it when Kanaya's teasing people. Plus, Janie doesn't have the accent hints that we do, so it's the same native language.
I feel like I need to go and listen to them both again. Man, Dave could tell us this in a snap. He's got that super auditory memory,
Dirk says.
Well, anyway, this uses other methods to work out who's speaking as well as voice analysis. It'll even color code it for you with the color that people use for their Trollian text, but it doesn't put it in their typing quirk since you're probably not used to speed reading that,
Roxy says and flashes you a grin at that last part.
Yeah, Carcats is all yelling. Narati is pretty normal. The clown guy's one is weird and makes me think of that SpongeBob meme, but Solix's is just hell to read. I can kind of stop seeing it if I'm talking to him for long enough, but...
You pause as an idea occurs to you.
Wait, does it do the color thing for everyone? I get how you could do it for everyone here, since you know everyone in this quarantine area, but what about the whole ship? For legal reasons, Dirk begins, I'm going to tell you that it knows who is nearby in their Trollian settings because of AI stuff that is very complicated to understand. Machine learning, interpretive data sets, data points.
Roxy is nodding along very quickly.
Yeah, it's got, indices and matrices out the ass. So technical. Don't worry about it, or ask about it, or bring it up again.
You look at your palm husk and then at Roxy and Dirk. It's the same look that Sam would have on his face when you caught him doing something that he wasn't supposed to be doing. A sort of, please don't ask me details because I don't like lying to you kind of thing.
It certainly isn't, say, getting into other people's tech and finding out who they are so it knows who's around me to speak and what color they write in, since that sounds like it'd probably be some kind of violation of privacy or something, you say, projecting the certainty that your descendants would never do a crime. Not even one crime. Not ever. For sure. We would never. Dirk agrees.
Anyway, yeah, so It can also listen to what you say if you speak Alternian and give you a translation, and it'll write it in Alternian and in Spanish. That way you can tell if what you're saying is... That way you can tell... Help. That way you can tell if what you're...
I'm having a stroke! Holy shit. It's not that hard!
That way you can tell if you're saying what you think you're saying, and even correct you on your pronunciation. I also installed a language learning app so you can start learning Alternian from Spanish. Here,
Roxy says, and hands the definitely crime-filled device back to you. Roxy presses the button on the side of the palm husk again, and she and Dirk switch languages. The screen scrolls as they talk.
Every conversation that this records is stored on the device. Not the audio, but the translation.
Yeah, recording people's voices without their explicit consent isn't super duper legal. Hal's chatbot is at least disclosed when you call the IT line, so you know that it might record you and save the data for their records.
People walking near you don't give the same kind of consent.
Right. Okay, so you can see here that you can scroll up and look over the transcription, and when you press the button here...
She clicks it again, and the translation window vanishes.
You can go back and see past translations when you click here. See how it's sorted by time? You can also search the transcripts by who spoke, so if you're looking for conversations that have me and Dirk in them, you can search by that, and it'll exclude conversations where there were only one of us or neither of us. So you can also search to exclude someone. That should make it easier to go back and find things if you can remember who was in the conversation.
Roxy explains, tapping away at the screen.
It'll also display the conversation in whatever language it was recorded in as well.
Dirk adds, tapping another button at the side that causes the conversation to flip to their words displayed in Alternian script in their colors, as well as the English letter version of Alternian, which just looks like key smashing to you. Dirk clicks the button on the side of your palm husk, and the active translator window pops up once again.
Here's a cool thing. Hal gets a lot of people cursing about their tech, or just about him, so this thing is also really good at reading obscenity and slang.
Like this! Huff my Shane Globes!
Right, so it's showing it to you with the Alternian word, since that's troll-specific. If the translator thinks that the word is meant to be troll-specific, or if there isn't a translation in Spanish, then it should show it in Alternian, and you can click it to get a quick idea of what it means.
It'll explain, like, idioms and slang and stuff for you, too. You will get to be down with the kids once more.
You click out of the translator and think for a moment or two.
Can you give this to the other balancers too? Something that'll do Spanish to Alternian for them? Solix is pretty good at English, and Karkat's Spanish is great, but makes multi-person conversations hell. We're way ahead of you. We're gonna give them a version of this that'll show them what's being said in any language if you've got this open to translate everything. That sort of gets around our consent problem, since they'll know you're doing it. We'll do the same for the people here who are cool with this.
Dirk says that last part carefully.
Don't tell Nepeta about how this works.
Roxy adds.
The shorter buff olive troll with kitty cat horns? She's sort of in charge of the ship at the moment, and there's stuff she's obligated to do if she hears about crimes.
Not that crimes are happening here, of course, no sir. You nod in agreement to keeping quiet and poke through your palm husk a little more. Both of those conversations are safely transcribed, but nothing was written down in the spaces between or after you press the button, so it doesn't do it all of the time. That's good for privacy, and probably good for your battery life. Assuming this thing has a battery and not like an energy spleen. You find the new language learning app and look at it in dismay. Your entire planet was destroyed. It's been like 70-something years or whatever the fuck. Civilizations have risen and fallen. And yet, this still remains. The hateful language owl regards you like the eldritch horror it clearly is. Motherfucking Duolingo? You ask in disbelief.
Yeah, it's real weird, but the trolls had their own thing for learning the other language on their planet, and it was almost identical.
Roxy tells you.
Convergent evolution?
Dirk suggests.
Of language learning mascots? I don't think that's how that works, Dirk. Earth had the Duolingo owl, and the trolls had the additional linguistic mindhawk. It'll know that you're a Spanish speaker from your palm husk setting, though, so you can start that whenever,
Roxy says.
Thanks. I will submit to the Eldritch Horror Bird later.
You slip the palm husk in your pocket and give them the warmest smile you have available at the moment.
Thanks for all of this, though. Really. I appreciate how you're taking so much time to help me out and make me part of your family. We're related, but being family is different. It really means a lot to me.
Dirk looks somewhat awkward and embarrassed about your sincere thanks, but Roxy beams at you and reaches over the back of the sofa to give you a hug.
Thanks for being here. Our biological family has always been so shit to the five of us, and I'm really happy that you're here. Dad is absolutely our real dad, and nothing changes that, of course. He was always trying to get us to have a connection to our culture, and it's great that he did that, and great that you're helping with that. But I hadn't realized how much I'd wanted a family, like a line of people throughout the generations, you know? We never knew our uncle, or our grandmother and her brother. There was this whole family beyond Bro's shitty presence that we never got, and until you got here, I didn't get that. I felt so...
Roxy struggles to find the words.
Dislocated? Dirk fills in for her. We have our own family, but we had no connection to the past. It's not as if any of Bro's immediate family were alive when we were born, but he still knew those past generations. He had that, and we never got to.
And now we do. It's a big thing,
Roxy says, and pulls back from the hug with a slightly watery smile. Looking at the two of them makes your heart ache. Nothing will replace your wife or your own children, but these two are your family as well. They're your blood. You wish that you could have saved their brother, though. You hate that they're going to have to find out about whatever has replaced him and how much that'll hurt. You try not to let any of that bleed through as you say,
Thank you, really. You're family, and I'll do anything to protect you.
It's a vow you take seriously. Concern flashes across Dirk's face, and you give him your best reassuring smile. You're good at pretending that things are fine and normal. You've had to be, when you think of a lifetime of sneaking into places you weren't meant to be to deal with supernatural shit. The whole facade that insists that everything is fine and as it's meant to be is well practiced and has reassured many a grieving relative or security guard who started to ask questions about what you're doing as you're wrapping up unfinished business for some ghost or whatever.
Speaking of family, I'm gonna go find Sophia. I need to talk to her. I have a lot of questions for her.
You say quickly.
About her mom and her brother? Yeah, I bet. That sounds like it's going to be rough, though. If you ever want company, I'd be up for talking to her, too. I have a million questions for her. I'm sure you do, too, right?
Roxy asks, and nudges Dirk, who nods but keeps giving you a look that is a little bit too aware. Stupid smart kids catching on to your shit. You bail before the meddling kids can stop you from getting away with it, or wherever that joke was going. Dirk and Roxy did point you in the direction that they saw Sophia heading last, so you go that way. You've got no certainty that she'll still be there. Aside from the fact that people move around and don't helpfully stand in place like video game NPCs, she's a ghost, and those can flick in and out of existence depending on how much energy they have and what's going on. You're building yourself up for disappointment when voices catch your attention. They're speaking in Alternian, but you recognize one of them. It's that Vriska girl again. You pull your palm husk out and press the translator button. It's not going to pick her up. Even future technology doesn't seem to mesh with the ghosts. But that doesn't mean that she's not talking to a living person. If she is, then you want to at least get half of that conversation. Another voice speaks, familiar but not one you can place, and annoyingly not one that the translator picks up. Another ghost, then. It seems to be arguing with Vriska, or at least the conversation sounds a little contentious on both sides. A third joins in, and that makes you freeze, because even speaking a different language, you know your daughter's voice. You hurry around the corner and come to a stop when you see her.
Sophia stands with the other two ghosts, all of whom are looking at you now. Sophia doesn't have the same vaguely whitish or dark aura to her that the other two ghosts have, but you can definitely tell that she's a ghost. It's still a punch in the gut to see her, and that feeling makes you falter for just a moment. "Dad, what are you doing here?" she asks in Spanish, her voice filled with that not quite real sound that ghosts have always had to your ears, a hint that the sound isn't really coming through your ears at all.
"I wanted to talk to you. I've barely seen you since I got here. I missed you so much,"
you tell her. Sophia's back goes ramrod straight, and she lifts her jaw a little to look at you, her hair shifting and making you see the place where one of her eyes should be, but instead there's nothingness. "You missed me?" she asks you. There's a look in her eye that sets off alarm bells in your head. You know the difference between how your daughter looks when she's angry and how she looks when she's giving someone just enough rope to hang themselves with. She just baiting someone into saying something that she'll use to tear into them. You know that look, but you know this tone from all your work with ghosts. This is the warning you get right before tripping right into their unfinished business, the tone that makes you word things very carefully so you don't escalate things. Be careful here, and think about what you say before you say it. To your surprise, one of the other ghosts speaks first. Not Vriska, but the other one. It's the one that's related to Solix. He's looking back and forth between you and your daughter and says something with a grimace. Vriska sighs and says something as well. Sophia doesn't comment on this, but from the way her gaze flickers to them for a brief moment, you can tell that she heard them. Solix's ghost adds something else and touches Sophia's arm, and to your surprise, she seems to relax a little bit, making you incredibly curious as to what the hell they're saying. Me too, by the way. Please tell me everything about what they're saying. I want to know. Please tell me. You can't know that until you learn to speak Alternian, so for now, you can just talk to Sophia.
"I know you must have missed me for far longer. It's not been nearly as long for me since I saw you get on the shuttle to leave. I did miss you, though. I thought I'd never get to talk to you again," you tell her honestly.
I would like to know! I would! Sorry, I'm giving my future self the opportunity to cut all this out in one chunk. I have to make noises now. I didn't either. When I saw you at the door, Sophia stops and looks away from you. She's tense, and her body flickers out of visibility for a moment. When she looks back at you, her expression is angry. "You left me, Dad. I left the planet, but you abandoned us."
"I'm sorry,"
you apologize as honestly and strongly as you can manage. "You abandoned us! You abandoned me!" Sophia snarls at you, and it's like a knife in your heart to hear it.
"I'm sorry."
Your voice catches on the words. "I wanted to go with you. I did. I thought about it over and over, ever since I found out that I didn't make it off of the planet. After Solix told me, and after my mother... I thought about leaving all that stuff on the beach and just going with you, but I couldn't. You know how this works. Forces bigger than us, premonitions, people talking to me through time. I'm sorry. I am. This isn't what I wanted either. I hate this, and I wish I could have seen you live your whole life. I do." "And you didn't have a choice," Sophia says. Not a question, but a statement instead. It's delivered stiffly, and she stares at you with her one eye, in a way that makes you wonder if your soul has just the one eye after Solix took your coin.
"Soph, I didn't choose to be like this,"
you insist desperately.
"I didn't choose to have Mom haunting me. I didn't ask Solix to appear out of nowhere and give me some insane prophecy. I have no way of knowing what would have happened if I didn't do things like they were supposed to be done. What would have happened if I caused some kind of paradox. Believe me, I wanted to go with you. I wanted to watch you grow up, to be there when your kids were born. Hell, I wanted to be with your mom until the day we died. I wanted to help you with your sons and maybe fix things with your youngest. I wish I could have seen all the good that I hear Sam did. I wish I had all of that. None of this was because you didn't care for your family enough. It wasn't because you didn't love her. You love her so much. You have loved Sophia since you saw the shapes of her on Jess's first ultrasound. You will love her until the universe ends and then some. This was never because you didn't love her enough to stay with her. But this isn't about you. I can't imagine how much it hurt you that I stayed behind, how much it hurt over the years. I won't defend my choices, but I'm here now. We're both here now, and right now I want to see you and talk to you. I love you. I know what you want to talk about, Sophia says simply. You're not sure what to say. You do want to talk to your daughter simply to talk to her, to learn about how much of her life that you missed. You do. But you did come here for another reason, and you don't know whether you should deny that or not. You don't want to make her angry. She doesn't wait for you, though. You want to talk about my grandson, about Dave, Sophia says, and that gets the two ghosts by her to react, talking in hurried Alternian to her. She holds a hand up to shut them up, which stops Vriska from talking at least, but Solix's ghost keeps going, although you're not sure if he's talking to Sophia or to himself. This whole fucking thing is like a curse, Sophia says and shakes her head. Vriska looks sidelong at you and then says something lightly in Alternian that gets Solix's ghost to curse her out with vigor. You don't get the words, but you can get that much. Honestly, it's a little bit distracting. Soph, I'm trying to protect the family we have left. Your grandchildren. That isn't Dave wandering around. It's something pretending to be him, you say desperately. Sophia puts her face in her hands and laughs, a sound bordering on a sob rather than happy amusement. She looks up at you, shaking her head, and with anger obvious on her features. Just go drown! Sophia snaps at you and vanishes. The other two ghosts look at the space that Sophia was in, and then at you. Solix's ghost, Mituna, that was his name, looks over at you once more. You don't speak Alternian, but you don't need to. Sad trombone noise needs no translation. He really is Sai's descendant. Man, fuck you! You snap at him. Mituna retorts something that sounds familiar. You haven't learned to speak Alternian, but you picked up English via the internet, and curses stick in your brain like no one's business. You're very reasonably sure that Mituna just told you to do something to his shame globes. You don't need the translator for that. I don't know why I'm talking to you. I don't speak Alternian, you say slowly and sigh, shoving your hands in your pockets. Vriska looks at you and then says something, but you catch the word Alternian in there. Mituna laughs and looks at you. It's definitely a mocking kind of thing. Vriska starts to speak again, and you listen, not for the words, but for the shape of what she's saying. Some sort of lead-in to a topic, and then something that sounds like it's basically like I was saying before. You wait for a pause, searching for a new sentence, and then you listen and repeat after a second or two. As long as you can wait before what she said falls out of your memory. The two of them stare at you in surprise, and you try to repeat it again, chewing around the alien words with a frown as if you can puzzle them out by just trying hard enough. The two of them talk again, quick and concerned. The word Alternian is thrown in again. They're trying to work out if you can suddenly speak Alternian. Obviously you can't. Vriska talks first, trying to get back to what she was saying, but Mituna cuts her off. You repeat his words, and Mituna looks pissed off, and Vriska looks doubly pissed off since she didn't enjoy hearing Mituna say it the first time. He leaves, she shouts something after him, and vanishes. You hurriedly pull your palm husk out and repeat that last line as best as you can. You stare down at the translation history, starting from the moment you shoved your hands in your pockets and started it, to right now. Tells him this is water wants. Not human. A bit of fussing with the translation. A bit
A little bit of fussing with the translation.
Hey, does anyone know how to count how many brain cells are in a skull? Because I think the answer is 1! Motherfuck!
A little bit of fussing with the translator allows you to correct that to, this is what he wants, and after a little guessing, you find a word that sounds like what you heard, which produces the chilling, he's not human. Oh, fuck, the ghosts are in on it, or at least those two are. Fuck, of course Vriska is on Dave's side, she's attached to him like you were with your mother. That's some goddamn stone-cold confirmation that you're right about not Dave. He isn't human, they admitted it. Okay, right, You need to do something about this. Sophia isn't going to help because she's very reasonably upset about how you didn't go with her. It's a lot to ask for her to help you with the same work that was the reason you stayed behind when she left Earth. You wish this wasn't your problem, and you most definitely didn't ask for this. But nevertheless, it is your problem. You, and only you, have this mess to deal with. So, you're vindicated, even if it's not in a way that feels good. At least you know that it's not just paranoia in your head or something. Not Dave really isn't human. You need to find your moment to do something about it, and you need to make sure that you can get the others to see the truth. So, you wait, but not for long. And now it's your turn to wait, but not for long. I'm gonna go on break, and I'll catch you in a few. And hopefully I'll come back with a few more brain cells.
Yo. I'm here. I'm eating candy that's only a little bit old. Yeah, listen to that. Hydrate or dihydrate, bitches. And that is the rest of my water. I can set that aside. I can get rid of this. Now, they need to invent a sitting that is comfortable, that I don't want to move around in after like 5 minutes. call me. But they were sold out of neurotypical when I was at the store. Which is to say, when I was born. Well, in the absence of that, and also, yeah, I did play, the break music was more, Taz Amnesty soundtrack, only because the shuffler thing that I use that I usually use, it sometimes just doesn't like to recognize my playlist IDs. Sometimes it comes back. I don't know what makes it work or not work. But sometimes it just does this and I just ignore it about it. So I just had to pick something else for today. But that's okay. That's fine. That's fine. It's okay. It's okay. Well, we have got plenty to get back to. So let's not waste any more time. And let's take us a look at what's in this book. It's not a book. It's a screen. It's a website. But that's okay. Has more words than your average book. There's a noisy plane outside, and it's distracting me. Okay. You ready? I'm ready. Let's do this fucking thing. Have I got my thing on? Yeah, but once it is, I may have to revisit my interest in learning how to fan bind, because that's the sound I make when I'm so normal. That's the sound I make when I'm the most normal and neurotypical person ever. As you would know by the position in which I'm sitting right now. I will not elaborate. Yeah, oh my god. The fact that there's, like, enough people interested in doing that. It's so cool. It's so cool, for real. I was also, earlier on Tumblr, somebody was posting about AU, and I was like, oh my god, I love AU so much. I'm so glad that you're talking about it. And they were like, I have like a fan-made physical copy, and I was like, oh my god, I want one so bad. Man, I'm not gonna lie. I would be willing to put to hand over the money for full physical copy of AU. Not gonna lie. It's so fucking awesome, dude. Anyway. Back to this. Let's see just what the fuck. Let's see just what the fuck. What's happening exactly? You whisper to Karkat that very afternoon. You're in a pretty packed office, and you'd really like some context for why this group has been gathered together. It's all of the balancers, not Dave, and then a few other people, too. It's not a bad audience for you to pull your whole Poirot parlor scene deal and reveal that not Dave is an imposter, but you'd rather know why you're supposed to be here before you decide if you're going to hijack it.
Before all of this, we had a captain on this ship. She didn't want anyone knowing about the balancers or ghosts or anything like that. We found out about all of that when we found the videos of what Dave's parents did to him and to other people to make them balancers. By we, I mean Dave's family, Kanaya, my brother, and a few other people.
Karkat explains quietly. Now, I know we're only 2 paragraphs in, but give me a second, because I know he's just keeping it more simple for translational reasons, but he called him his brother! Ventuses! Okay, I'm normal. I'm normal. I'm the most normal. Not Dave looks at both of you for a moment, but doesn't say anything. You get why your great-grandson would want to avoid the topic, so it makes sense that he's avoiding it too.
We thought that the secrecy and being complicit in that was fucking shit, so we told everyone. We spread all of that information in a way that couldn't be suppressed or denied because we didn't want this to continue. Which, again, I'm sorry about how I did that and how much of your personal shit got out.
Karkat says, leaning around you to look at Not Dave. Not Dave shrugs apathetically, and when he speaks, his voice sounds almost bored. You wanted to make sure this shit never happened again? I'm all about being done with this. I've come around to your way of thinking, I guess. That certainly sounds like a big change in Dave's previously established opinions. Something that would make Karkat more inclined to accept this counterfeit is the real deal. Great.
Well, it ended up with a revolution and deposing the captain after she threatened to throw us outside of the ship to force us to fix the situation and make the balancers go back to doing what she wanted.
Karkat continues. Not Dave's hands snap shut, and he turns his head to look at Karkat with such eerie smoothness that you're almost surprised it doesn't just keep going around like something out of the goddamn Exorcist. When he speaks, his voice is dark and has a layer of unnatural notes that sets your teeth on edge, but doesn't seem to raise too much of an eyebrow for anyone else. Not happening again. Not ever, he hisses. The clown troll clocks Not Dave's tone and bumps his fist against Not Dave's shoulder, his face concerned as he says something Alternian to him. You're glad that you've got your translator running, but you're more interested in talking to Karkat right now. Alright, so you started a revolution against evil shit, which is generally a cool and sexy thing that I'm in favor of. Great job on that, but then what? You ask.
The revolution thing is almost a family business now, but that's not the point. Several people here saved our asses from being tossed into space, and the captain was arrested. I can't remember what Teresa actually charged her with at the time, but if she hadn't been charged with something.
Karkat's speech trails off, and you look around in fear. It sounds like there's a pissed-off lion or a bear or something in the room with you, but no, that noise is apparently coming from Gamzee as he looks at the translator on his phone. That said, Not Dave looks pissed off enough to make that noise himself, but it's definitely coming from Pennywise in space over there. Jesus, that's terrifying.
Anyway, the captain was thrown in jail, and our justice system on the ship determined that she was guilty enough to stay there, so we made contact with the rest of our fleet and handed her over to them so they could make an official ruling. Also, if they agree that this whole secrecy thing is evil and dangerous, then we might be able to get back into the fleet, since we're cut off at the moment, because everyone on our ship knows about the balancers, and if we're allowed to talk to everyone else, then that'll spread.
He explains. Then there's the carapations, Not Dave adds, though you have no idea what that last word was, and your translator is no help either. It just spelt the word out as if it was a real word. Karkat seems to clock your confusion, so he tells you,
the carapations are a new species to us. We met them on the planet we were just on. They don't have all of this secrecy around balancing, and they're just fine, which is pretty strong evidence that the secrecy around balancing in the supernatural is unneeded and just a tool to control people like us.
The door opens behind you, and you turn to see two humans come in and step inside, the automatic doors closing behind them. You do know them. The guy is Dirk's husband, and the girl is his sister and also Aradia's girlfriend, if you remember rightly. Their names escape you for a minute, but you're thankful that your translators got you there.
Sorry we're late. I wanted to bring Beck with us.
So, where is he?
I think he wanted to open the door himself, and Jake had already opened it.
You frown and look up as the door opens again, revealing the haunted avatar dog that somehow opened the door by himself. He trots into the room and settles himself between Not Dave and Jade. With the newcomers settled, the cat girl clears her throat and immediately gets the attention of the whole room.
I was a little bit torn on who to talk to first. I know that we all are invested in the outcome of the captain's trial. Ordinarily, I would say that her family should get the news first, but I think that this is just as important for the Balancers to hear as well.
We don't mind, really. After what she did, I think that's only fair.
Besides, you're pretty much all family anyway.
I'm not family. You can't count me because my ex-Moirail is Palin Jake's husband's brother.
Gam, we've been a team for years. We swore a blood oath.
No, we didn't. You just grabbed my hand when you were nasty and bloody one time.
You can leave if you want.
I'm not leaving.
Family it is. So, as a family, can we all hear what's happened?
Of course. I did ask Disciple if she wanted to be here too, but she didn't want to be present. She wanted to read the outcome in private. Legally, they are still married, so it's all very personal for everyone.
So, what did they say?
I can take a guess.
Gamzee!
Gamzee doesn't seem optimistic or very enthusiastic about this at all. He ignores Karkat scolding him and instead shares a pessimistic look with Not Dave.
Actually, the court wanted to pass on a message first. They wanted to express their sympathies to Dave for what he went through, and their apologies that they couldn't track and catch Mindfang and the doctor's ship in time.
I don't want their goddamn sympathy, thanks.
Understandable. They also wanted to say that they're grateful that Mindfang and Dr. Lalonde are no longer a threat. They're aware of how many lives they must have taken, and they wanted to formally thank you for making sure that no one else will suffer the same fate.
They don't know. They don't know what any of that is like. Them thanking me doesn't mean shit.
Yeah, like, good job for recognizing it, but there's no way they get what it's like, or how many people they helmed for that nightmare ship. Your breath catches as the room becomes a lot more occupied all at once. Ghosts slide in through the walls, trolls and humans alike. Some you recognize, like Matuna and Vriska, but others you don't know at all. You gasp when you see your grandson's ghost slide through the wall, his hair drifting about in zero gravity, and one of his eyes missing in the same way that Sophia's is. Nepeta looks around the room in uneasy surprise, looking at each of the ghosts with an expression of recognition on her face for most of them. The others are looking around at the ghosts too, everyone except Not Dave.
Most of you are former Balancers for this ship. I recognize you from your portraits, even though I didn't work with you myself. I assume that you want to know what the captain's verdict is too?
There's a ghostly murmuring. It sounds ominous and angry, but there's a lot of nodding going on. These aren't happy spirits by any means, but clearly they're still with it enough to be invested in what's happening here.
I don't mind them being here, I guess. Not that I could do anything about it if I did mind.
Same. Well, there was one last message that they wanted to pass on before the verdict.
Bruh. And we'll never know. I'd drink more water if I had any. We should be back now. Please verify? I guess? And also, where did I leave off? And by leave off, I mean, where did I get killed? Because I know where I left off, but you didn't hear where I left off. Why isn't it loading my chat? Hey phone, hey, why isn't my phone loading my chat? Hey, why does it think I have no viewers, and why is it always loading? Okay. Wow, really? Goddamn, legit? Okay. Yeah, no. Looking at it when I actually put it in the place where I left off, that's probably the amount. That's probably the usual amount. Lasign. Okay. Router, you had your kicks. You had your fun. Now leave it. This is important stuff. These aren't happy spirits by any means, but clearly they're still with it enough to be invested in what's happening here. I don't mind them being here either, I guess. Not that I could do anything about it if I did mind.
Same. Well, there was one last message that they wanted to pass on before the verdict.
If it's more sympathy, can I suggest that we skip it?
I'm sure they mean well, and I'm saying that to remind myself of that. It's probably well intended.
Karkat looks wildly pissy, and you think that if this message was being delivered in person, that Karkat might just suplex some court person for saying it. He's polite and fighty all at once.
It's partly a thank you, but it's more of an update. Because we discovered that Mindfang's mind control could reach that far, a lot of procedures are being changed. The checks that we ran our navigational data through when we were looking for Dave are going to be standard now. The fleet is also developing a method of mind control screening for staff to make sure that people are acting on their own free will.
That's a good idea. I'd like to think that it was just Mindfang who had mind control psionics that strong, but I want to know for sure. What about the old navigational data? Iron Chain looked over their past scans and saw Mindfang's ship when they missed it before. Is everyone going to look over all of their scans? That's a lot of data.
I wondered about that too. I definitely want to get people to scour through our history. I want to know if we had more close calls with Mindfang than we were aware of.
Vriska whispers something at Dave's side, but it doesn't look like she was whispering it to him exactly, more like she was talking to herself. You mouth, "What?" at Karkat, prompting him to lean over to you and whisper Spanish right into your ear, cutting the translator's records out of it.
If we find that out, then there's a chance that we can tell if Vriska and her sister were manipulated into abducting Solix and Matuna, or if they did it by choice,
he says to you, ever so quietly, which explains why Solix and Matuna look tense, and why Vriska looks deeply uncomfortable. That'll probably be a real can of worms to deal with.
Redclair made the point that although there are people like Matuna or Dave where we know they were taken, there's probably a lot of people who are recorded as simply missing or lost in accidents that didn't really happen. She said it's important that we can give some closure and truth to those people and their loved ones. It's not as if we can put Dr. Lalonde and Mindfang on trial now, but at least we can try to give some justice to their victims. It's too little too late, but...
No, that's good. I like that. At least people will know what happened for real.
I think it'll probably take a while, and I'm sure that some data has been lost over the years, but it's something.
Yeah, at least we'll know their names.
Will we, though? Okay, we will, but is the fleet going to know what Dr. Lalonde was really up to? Without knowing about the balance and why they were doing this, then they're just gonna look like random serial killers.
There are a bunch of responses from the ghosts in the room that you don't really need to translate. The feeling does seem to be that Dr. Lalonde and Mindfang were just serial killers and monsters, regardless of their motives.
That brings me to the actual verdict, in a way. The captain was checked for any active mind control, and nothing was found, but it's not clear how much of Mindfang's control might persist after her death. I'm going to be very pessimistic and say that there will probably be a number of people claiming that Mindfang controlled them to work with Dr. Lalonde, and that it was just so long ago that it can't be proven now.
I think you're right there. Fuck those people. I'll twist those spineless bastards into knots if I get the chance.
Actually, just as an aside, can we petition for Dave's mom to lose her doctorate? Calling her a doctor when she's an affront to science makes me want to scream.
I'm torn between saying that you're running into a no true Scotsman fallacy there, like there's never been bad doctors ever. She can be terrible and have a doctorate. On the other hand, I'm sure she would absolutely hate that, and I'm entirely down for posthumous spite. I'm reasonably sure that that's not in Nepetta's control, so can we get back to finding out about my grandmother, please? I bet I know what Nep is going to tell us, but yeah, go on. Nepetta gives Not Dave an uneasy look, and you wonder if she can feel something from him too, or if the generally dark and menacing way that he said that was enough to give her the creeps by itself. It certainly creeped you out. You close your eyes for a moment and focus. Not Dave feels off already. He's surrounded by ghosts, which already make that whole area of the room feel off, but you can feel a distinct pull towards him. It reminds you of when you slept on the boat when you went to the volcanic island, the phantom sensation of waves that came with you even after you stepped onto dry land. This feels like the faint tug of a dark tide leading you towards Not Dave. You open your eyes again when Nepetta starts talking once more.
The court ruled that the captain's arrest of you and your families was unlawful, along with threats against people's lives. We've all been officially cleared by the fleet, meaning that our coup and takeover are essentially lawful, and everything is being swept aside as the ends justifying the means.
Including the virus?
Somehow, yes. You are all very lucky there, though I may task Solix with ensuring that you never code anything ever again.
Sir, yes, sir.
If everything my grandmother did is officially unlawful, then what are they doing with her?
Are they going to space her? You look at Not Dave. He's staring at Nepetta unblinkingly. You're not sure if he's breathing either, but you don't get to watch him for long enough to be sure, as he senses you looking at him, and you have to look away before you're caught watching him.
They're not going to execute her. The court said that given her history and her age, it's more appropriate to put her under house arrest and retire her from her position.
She threatens us and gets a nice motherfucking retirement in peace? Can't space someone without holding them guilty for a crime. If she arrested and threatened us because she's old and she's lost it, then it's medical shit. That's what they're saying it was, right?
Not Dave's voice is icy, and that unnatural pull toward him is stronger still. The ghosts around him are muttering in discontent, and this feels really dangerous to you. They seem to be picking up on Not Dave's mood and reflecting it outwards.
That's what they ruled it as, yes.
I'm sorry, but no, my grandmother is a lot of things, but she's not senile at all. She was entirely in her right mind.
Unless they have to say that she's deteriorated mentally. If they say she's sane and healthy, then she committed an actual crime, and they're avoiding charging her with that. They'd have to explain why she did it.
Tell me they're not doing what I think they're doing.
Motherfuckers. Of course they are. They're trying to keep the balance a secret still, and this is just to keep us quiet.
Not Dave makes a there you go kind of gesture, and the ghosts around him argue angrily, both between themselves and directing their questions at Nepetta. Again, you can't understand them, so you look at Karkat. It takes a moment for him to shake off his shock and start explaining. The ghosts around here are pretty much all former balancers for this ship. People that our captain kept in the job until they died. Only now, they're hearing that she's not being held accountable for it at all. Understandably, they're upset. Karkat explains furiously.
I knew this was what was going to happen. Could have written it down and sent it to you ahead of time like some psychic trick.
Not Dave says flatly to Karkat.
I'm sorry, this isn't what I wanted either. We're still cut off from the fleet, but I'm hoping that we can be a model to prove that knowing about the balance and ghosts doesn't doom us. That we can prove that the rest of the fleet can be like us.
How can they possibly try to keep this under wraps after everything? The Carapacians don't have any secrecy about balancing. People will find out.
Aradia, you're not that goddamn stupid. It'll be a language thing. The Carapacians don't understand things. They don't mean that weird spooky thing they said. Then the people in charge just have to find out who's a balancer and who isn't and do the same thing to them that they did to us. That whole gang we found were balancers, but Problem Sleuth wasn't. Threaten to kill him and they do what they're told. Shit doesn't change.
It changes here. I'm not making anyone balance, and I won't let anything like that happen here. Like I said, we can be proof that it doesn't have to be that way.
Things can be better. They can. We can be proof, like Nepeta said. We'll show the fleet that. We'll prove it, even if they don't want to hear it.
Karkat!
What?
You just got pardoned for treason with that virus, idiot. I love doing things twice, but maybe don't plan shit in front of Nepeta, who is our boss and has to respond to threats against the ship and the fleet. Threats like planning to release a new virus to the rest of the fleet that'll prove whatever you're hoping this proves.
Keep your mouth shut!
Yes, please. I'm going to tell myself that you were just thinking out loud and you're emotional and that wasn't going anywhere else. Leaving all of that aside, Karkat, surely there's a numbers problem with secrecy. This is why conspiracy theories don't work. Not when there's only so many people who can know about a big secret before something like Karkat happens.
Did you just call me a thing?
Shut up.
Not Dave forces a breath out between his grated teeth and looks over at Solix and Matuna.
I'm going to be a dick here. Sorry in advance, but I'm right.
That's not how being sorry works.
Okay, the point isn't about how secret it can be. Like, yeah, probably the Carapacians are going to screw the secrecy thing for everyone sooner or later. It doesn't actually matter, though.
It does matter. I did a lot of treason about how much it matters, remember?
You're talking about Bro's whole thing. Yeah. Bro told me that plenty of people knew about what happened to me. People in the lab, people that Mom reported to, and no one did shit. Bro said he'd straight up murder a baby if it meant that the whole ship stayed safe. It was a numbers thing as far as he was concerned.
I think we all think that's a terrible thing to say or for anyone to think, but I want to point out that it is terrible. I feel that needs to be said. It definitely needs to be said.
We talked about this when we were putting the virus together. There's an argument to be made for someone suffering to save everyone, but that doesn't make it right. It definitely doesn't make it right to coerce people like this and threaten them in private to make them comply. Every living person in the room seems to be firmly on the stance of the ends not justifying the means, about how it's not really ethically great to torture people into the trolley problem. Not Dave is not swayed, however. He looks at Solix and Matuna once more before speaking again.
Yeah, cool. You're right. It's easier to threaten people in secret. Secrecy is easier, but it's not needed like you think it is. You're too nice, and you're way too optimistic about people. Point is, it doesn't matter how well we work on this ship when we're not being made to balance, or how nice everyone behaves. The fleet is never going to care.
You don't know that. People care. Even if they're scared and say shitty things when they're scared. If people know what's happening, then...
How did Psionic die?
What the fuck, Dave?
Sorry for bringing it up, but I've got to. Psionic died in the helm. He and every other psionic that died in a helm died because people needed their power, and every troll knew that's what happened, and it happened anyway. Humans aren't any better. We're not. If the whole fleet finds out about balancers, then people will be horrified and talk a big game about how bad it is, but they'll still make us balance, the same as they used to put psionics in the helm. People are not as nice as you think they are, and nothing is going to change because you asked, or because we tried to be a good example.
We don't helm people anymore, but we still know how to do it. If there was no other way to power the ship suddenly, then... yeah, I know what had happened to me. People would make me a battery just so they could live. Everyone just pretends like they wouldn't. Yeah, same thing.
We would never let that happen to you, Solix.
Sai didn't let it happen to him, and it's not like every other helmsman didn't have people who wanted to save them. They still got helmed.
I understand the comparison between balancing and the helm, but we don't helm people in the fleet anymore. No one in the fleet has resorted to that since it was abolished. Change can happen. Our ancestors did stage a revolution, and things do get better when we try to improve them. I'm not saying that it's easy, and Silas definitely died for his cause. That's absolutely a thing that happened, but the world is better now.
Yeah, he asked nicely and got crucified for it. Trolls didn't stop helming psionics because of that. It's because humans showed up with nuclear power and an insane willingness to use it. The Empress wanted stable fuel that didn't scream or murder people when they were trying to install it. We handed the captain over because supposedly that's how justice happens, and she gets a cushy retirement, and we get to sit down and shut up. Shit don't change.
Things did change. We can change things, just like our ancestors did.
How did that work out for them?
Dave?
No one convicted the captain, even though we handed her over like we were supposed to, and people here would still turn on us the moment it benefited them. That's not change. That's not justice. Fuck, there isn't any justice. The ghosts are snarling their agreement around Not Dave, and even Matuna looks like he's agreeing with him. Solix just looks sick at the idea of the whole helm thing, and after what he showed you, that's entirely understandable. Whatever the ghosts are saying makes Jade and Jake wince at the same time. That's enough, please. They're not wrong. We had to hand her over for legal shit, but... Gamzee, please. I know, but she's my family. I don't want to hear it. Well, this sucks, and I'm entirely unsurprised by it all. I'm gonna go. I'm not good company, so just leave me alone. Sorry, Solix. Later. Not Dave sweeps past you, and for a moment, you can't breathe through the phantom taste of salt water in your mouth, threatening to spill down into your lungs. He's left the room by the time you can manage to speak again, and most of the ghosts have gone with him.
I'm sorry, Jake. I know that this must be a very mixed thing to hear about your grandmother. She wasn't family to me in the same way, but with her and Disciple being married, she was more than just my captain. She should have been executed for what she did. It hurts to think that our grandmother, who was our only family, and the monster who could exploit and threaten everyone were the same person. She's still both of those people, and this isn't right. Like Dave said, it's not justice. I feel relieved and guilty at the same time. That's probably normal. It's a low goddamn bar, but me and Dave always felt like she could have been way worse. But we had a lot to compare it to. Can't really say that I'm surprised that it went this way. There is such a thing as justice. This isn't it, but there is. Things can be better. So help me fucking God. I don't care what I have to do, but I'm going to make things better. Agreed. We can make a better future. Maybe it's not as simple as behaving nicely and being a good example, but I believe it's possible. Just think things through a little more in the future and don't take stupid risks. I really don't want to see you end up like your ancestor, Karkat. I don't want anyone to end up that way. What did happen to your ancestor? I know what happened to Solix's, but I feel like I'm a little bit out of the loop here. Dave was a little ominous but vague, so I'm not sure on the details. You ask, and let the translator spit that out in Alternian for you. My ancestor fought for equality and love, to end the hemospectrum and the oppression of trolls for their blood color. He taught that we were better than we acted, that we should fight injustice, see other people as people, and make the world better. People didn't take a message of love and equality very well. Psionic and Disciple is Nepeta's ancestor, were part of his movement. Kanaya's ancestor raised him kind of like a human mother and child. It's a lot. It's not accurate to say that Silas simply asked nicely for people to be better. He could get really angry about things.
Unfortunately, the Empress killed Silas for his revolution, and she took and helmed Psionic as well. The disciple only just escaped. A lot of the change that Silas's movement achieved is down to Disciple carrying it on after he died and after Psionic was taken. There's books I could give you, if you want, but the point is that when I tell Silas about this, I promise his answer is not going to be just be nice. He's not that passive. Karkat's explanation sounds pissy about it, but you suppose that he wants to make sure that you understand what's happening anyway. You think about what Karkat just told you before you speak. Your ancestor sounds like Jesus. People have made that comparison, yes.
Don't say he's the second coming of Christ. He gets funny about that.
Second coming? If me and Dave— Shut up, Solix! Karkat's text ought to have been in all caps and in several font sizes up for how loud his angry words were just then. You're still really amused that the word coming works like that in Alternian, too. That's a fun linguistic thing. Solix doesn't really look like he feels all that great, but you think that he might have to be dead before he'd stop annoying his boyfriends for fun. You think he's just that kind of person. Besides, after all the talk of the helm, he probably wants to think about literally anything else.
Are you going to tell the others what the court said? I'm not really up for telling everyone myself. That was the plan. I wanted to make sure that you heard it from me first and with a smaller audience. I imagine that the Strider family won't take this too well or too quietly, but if you want to be there for that too, then you're welcome.
I think I could do without seeing Dirk's first reaction, actually. You step aside and let Jade and Jake leave the room with the dog, their mixed emotions plain on their faces. Anger, guilt, grief, and relief, all blurring together into one shitty experience. Gamzee moves past you to hold his hand on the doorframe and sighs some unhappy words out in Jake's direction. I could use a fight, something to get rid of this shit.
It's not as if any of us can fight the captain with how far away she is. Also, that doesn't sound entirely healthy, Gamzee. Actually, you know what? That sounds like a very good idea. Something to get all that energy out.
See?
Jake agreeing with you doesn't make this a good idea. I want to point that out.
Sometimes you just have to punch the shit out of something to feel better.
I find that paling is better for that, actually. That used to work out for me pretty well. Destroying people at video games makes me feel better, but I definitely used to benefit from your way of coping. I'm not really... No, I wasn't suggesting...
I bet you any money that Dave's in the gym for that reason.
Oh, absolutely. We should go there.
What? No!
I don't think they were planning on a therapeutic three-way, KK. If anything, that's our job.
Shut up! No! Dave is hurt! No one should be fighting him at all!
Well, you heard him, Gam. Go sex up Strider. It's what Karkat wants.
The translator can't make anything out of Karkat's shriek of rage or his furious hissing and snapping right after. Maybe it's too emotional for the translator to parse, or this could just be alien threat noises that don't translate. Either way, Jake and the clown leave to presumably do something to the thing pretending to be Dave. You're very sure that they're joking. If they weren't, then you'd be dishing out more warnings about getting sexy with spirits and how that's a really bad idea. Besides, you know that he's not human, but you've definitely not picked up on the kind of vibes that you'd expect from the types of spirit that lure humans to their death that way. Gamzee and Jake leave together while Aradia and Jade go their own way with Beck, which leaves the rest of you to clear out so Nepeta can give everyone else the same bad news that she just gave to your group. Solix is making soothing noises at Karkat, which your research has told you is a pale thing. You're reasonably sure that Solix isn't putting much effort into it, which is interesting. Is that because you're nearby and that makes it weird, or what? Should I go? Is this, private? You ask Solix quietly in English and gesture to him in Karkat. Nah, he's always been like this, Solix says simply and tells Karkat to shoosh or something again. Look, I'm gonna try to say this again, but there's something wrong with Dave. I don't know how you two perceive spirit stuff, but his whole aura makes me feel like I'm drowning. I could literally feel water in my throat for part of it. You say seriously to both of them. Karkat bats Solix's hand away from his face and shakes his head before speaking.
can you blame Dave? He's in a bad place right now, and it's upsetting when the systems that are supposed to protect us fail to do that. I'm not surprised that he's putting out bad vibes. The things he was saying were bad enough. And Solix, I'm sure he didn't mean what he said.
He did mean it, Solix says flatly.
It was uncalled for, especially with Matuna there.
Karkat insists. Yeah, but... Solix sighs and looks down at his hands, at the batteries inked on them and all that they represent. It's not like he was wrong. Karkat is immediately back all the way to 11 out of 10.
No, he is wrong. Things are messed up, but nothing was ever fixed by saying that people suck and things will never get better. People died. Our ancestors died to make things better. I won't accept giving up and letting things stay shitty.
Solix rolls his eyes, or rather, his whole head, which is handy since he can't see enough of his eyes to know where he's looking. Everything felt a lot more dangerous and spiritually nasty when Dave was talking about that stuff, you point out, hoping that you can get them to see it. It's clearly connected. I'm not saying give up, it's all doom, but Dave's right, you know? People are okay with making me... with this, Solix says, and taps at the battery on his finger. And those people are cool with hurting Dave and making us balance so they can live normally and be happy and get coffee and watch movies. They don't care if we die. Even better if we do it and they don't have to see. It's not the helm, but it's the only thing where saying they're the same isn't shit.
Yeah, I know you normally hate people comparing anything to helming. The comparison is normally bullshit.
Karkat concedes, and Solix groans and mutters, "Comparison," to himself. You guess that he couldn't remember the word and talked around it. You're both right, and yeah, I'm not shocked that it makes you feel weird. This is big stuff. Solix adds that last part with a look at you. They just don't get it. This isn't a case of Dave putting out bad vibes because he's upset. It's his fake human front starting to slip. Neither of them want to see it, so they're pretending that it's nothing more than trauma and a bad mood. You leave before you end up snapping at them. Everything is so frustrating and frightening all at once, and it's not helping your diplomatic skills. You end up alone in the kitchen, pacing as you try to think. What does not Dave want? Pretending to be a dead man is a lot of effort and carries a lot of risk of discovery, so something here has to be doing something for him, or else he wouldn't even be here. There are plenty of stories across human cultures of people being replaced by something strange. Some of these have mundane explanations, like people being traumatized in ways that their culture didn't accept, or neurodevelopmental issues, or mental illness showing up. Like, okay, maybe that's a changeling child, or perhaps it's the 12th century and your kid is starting to show symptoms of autism. Or, hey, that person isn't possessed. They're more likely to be psychically aware of ghosts like you, or they could just have a dissociative identity disorder, or they have psychotic symptoms. Typically, you're not looking at a spirit pretending to be a human. It's something more mundane, like schizophrenia. Sometimes, especially in this case, you are absolutely dealing with something supernatural. You make yourself coffee and sit down to drink it, trying to think. You are dealing with something that is not your great-grandson. He is not human, and he is dangerous. You just don't know what he wants, or what he is. Things that genuinely do replace someone feed on the living and the world around them. You don't have a lot of positive things to say about Not Dave, but at the very least, he doesn't seem like he's going to literally eat anyone here. So, why is he doing this? What is Not Dave getting by pretending to be your great-grandson? There's gotta be a lot of emotional energy from his family and friends, a whole buffet of relief and love. That's all well and good, but it's a relatively temporary food source, unless he keeps putting himself in danger and coming back from it to generate more. You'd expect a spirit like that to be really milking the traumatic near-death experience, but Not Dave has been talking about his very little. Sure, he's answered questions and stayed with his loved ones when they express relief at him being alive, but he's not hungry for it. No one is showing the level of fatigue that you'd flag as psychic or emotional vampirism, and Not Dave isn't goading other people's emotions out in a manner that you'd expect for that anyway. He's too coherent and physical to be a ghost, but at the same time he's really evasive about letting anyone examine his body too closely. That's suspicious as hell, but his body doesn't give you the creeps in the way that you had in your one experience with a reanimated corpse. Your first and only experience with the zombified dead returning to life was awful, and ended with you barfing in a bush after your mom bludgeoned the thing into its second death with a garden spade. Also, Not Dave has eaten food and not tried to maul or eat anyone else. If Not Dave is some kind of zombie, then he's way more sophisticated than anything you've seen, and also you have no idea what something like that would fuel itself with. He is weird about his body, that's still worth noting. Not Dave avoids tests or performs his own when he can either hide and fake the results or control the whole situation. Sure, Karkat and Solix haven't noticed anything wrong with his body, but at this point, you think that Not Dave could rip his face off like Jim Carrey in The Mask, and those two would explain it away somehow. They don't want to see anything wrong with him, so they're not going to. Even so, you think they'd notice the guy's insides being on his outsides, or whatever. You can probably rule this one out. Not Dave is weird with the ghosts, that's undeniable. He can touch them when no one else can, and they only showed up here when that door opened. The door that let both of you through. Once that was open, everyone could see and hear them. The ghosts could even interact properly with each other, which wasn't always so. If they're powering him somehow, if they're his food source, then you'd expect them to try to avoid him, but if anything, it's the opposite. The ghosts are...
Music makes you jerk your head up and freeze mid-step. You cover your ears for a second, but it's as you thought. It's not real sound, it's supernatural. A guitar with electric distortion, or maybe a keyboard? You strain yourself to make it out, and faintly, you start to hear words. You hurry outside into the corridor, and your skin breaks out into goosebumps as soon as you step outside. There are subtle signs of the supernatural, and then there's the flashing neon light that is this feeling. You freeze when you look to the left and see Dave. Not the fake, but the ghost, your grandson. He's waiting for you in the corridor with another ghost, one of the ones who listened to Nepetta's talk about the captain. He sings. They're both singing, but from the way their mouths are moving, you get the feeling that they're not using the same language, yet somehow it's making its way into your brain just fine. The other ghost is a woman. She's shaking with rage at every word, a stark contrast to your grandson's composure. The woman snarls that line at the end of it, then she breaks into ghostly sparks and rushes through a wall. Your grandson, Dave, continues singing as he looks down at his gloved hand. He removes the glove part of his spacesuit and reveals a glowing tattoo that looks just like the weighing scale-themed ones that the other balancers have. Your grandson steps back, his hair floating weightlessly around his face. He looks at you with his one eye and grins, cracking his knuckles and disappearing through the wall. As he goes, you catch sight of Sophia for just a moment. She's walking around a corner and is gone from your view in less than a second. You rush after her, music coming from everywhere still pounding in your skull. As you turn around the corner, you slip, gracelessly banging into the wall to try to keep your balance. Sophia is nowhere to be seen, but there's the ghost of a human man there instead. He's wearing the same kind of pseudo-military uniform that everybody official on this ship seems to wear, balancers included. He's looking ahead at something down the corridor, something that looks like mere shadows to you. This much you're familiar with. It's a ghost remembering something, and usually that something is massively connected to their unfinished business. You move to his side as he sings, and try to see what he sees. You squint at the echoes of this ghost's unfinished business. The shadowy figures are smaller than you and hazy, more shadows and movement than they are real people. It's about the impression, not the details. They're small, older children or young teenagers. Two of them have suggestions of horns at the right angles, but it's hard to see. They're talking and laughing together, but they keep returning their focus to the ghost at your side, as if they're looking for instructions or approval.
The ghost at your side whispers that lyric, mournful and regretful. This is absolutely unfinished business. He shifts, and you hear the movement of chains. When you look down, you see them snapped around his ankles and snaking towards the memories of the kids. They become snared in the chains, and their hands start to glow, not that the kids react at all, continuing to chatter brightly to each other unintelligibly. The ghost at your side turns, and for a moment you think that he's missing an eye because of those coins, but no. Where your family has a shadow where their eye should be, this is a wound blasted into his face. You jerk back in reflexive fear and horror, nearly falling down some stairs. It takes 2 steps of stumbling before you have your footing once more, and it's all the more embarrassing for the way the ghost moves away harmlessly. He follows the chains right down the corridor and out through the wall, the same way the other ghosts have left so far. He was just injured, not trying to jump scare you. You feel like kind of an asshole for reacting like that, but he's left and you can't apologize. The echoes of his memory have gone too, and now you're on this staircase. There isn't a staircase here. In fact, the hallway doesn't turn this way from the kitchen at all. You glance down the staircase to see a ghost. The first thing that you notice is the way his sailor uniform is unbuttoned to his waist and the shirt underneath is clinging to him obscenely. Those are the kind of pectorals that should require a license to have. They almost compel you to shove your face between them. It's not your fault. You've always been a sucker for an amazing rack. You have your weakness, so fuck no. It took far too long for you to look up and see that the perfect pecs are attached to a troll clown. Absolutely not. You're not dealing with juggalos, regardless of the jugs they may have. You turn back the way you came, only to find that the top of the staircase is now a wall, making this a staircase to nowhere and a very dead end. If you were in any doubt about how fucked up this haunting is making the local geography, then consider that doubt obliterated. When you look back at the clown, he starts rapping, because there is no God.
Legend has it he was raised in an animal. Mom and dad could barely afford the same pattern of asylum after asylum, praying to Poseidon to keep the darkness outside of him. They say he never muttered a word until the crucifix around the neck of the corrections officer caught his eye. He said, my oh my, I think I just found my ticket out of hell.
You quickly descend the stairs and hurry past the distressingly buff clown, trying your hardest to get back to some part of the quarantine area that you recognize. The ghosts are doing this, but why? What are they doing with this song? The clown leans on a doorframe and grins down at you. The door slides open and you hurry through it, watching as the hot clown follows his own ankle chain up the stairs before disappearing as well. You don't recognize this part of the ship at all. Everything seems more angular. Panels on the wall are hexagonal, in a way that almost reminds you of beehives. This isn't real. It can't be. It's some projection that the ghosts are doing, but you don't know how or why. Ghosts don't work together in numbers like this, or at least not for this long. You've been to sites of great tragedies before. Towns flooded by burst dams, or streets of houses taken down in a second by a gas explosion. Those had ghosts who were on the same traumatic wavelength that their hauntings merged into each other. This is way more organized than that, and far more verbal and aware. The ghosts here are working as a whole, but they're distinct too. As you walk, the music and words flow from everywhere and nowhere, all at once. Walking on, you pass room after alien-looking room in your search to get back to reality. They're not empty either. All of them have insane-looking ghosts in the cells. Chained by the ankles and pacing, furious or sobbing, all of them are awash with intense emotion. This whole place is saturated by it, and with a note of panic, you can feel it inside you too, like a tuning fork in your chest. Anger, despair, unfairness. It's getting to you. Oh shit, this is big, nasty haunting stuff, but how are so many ghosts all working to the same literal beat? It doesn't make sense. A voice starts behind you and it makes you jump. You turn and find yourself suddenly and horrifyingly inside a cell with a woman. She's a troll, and she looks utterly miserable. As you breathe in, there's the distinct smell of medical-grade alcohol and cleaner about, but she's standing there in a haze of much more drinkable alcohol. You've seen this before in the ghosts of alcoholics. They tend to smell like a bar even after they die. You follow her gaze past the cell window and get the feeling that you just missed something. You look out, but all you see are small, wet footprints, like a little kid who's escaped from a bath. As the footprints go down the corridor, they somehow get larger.
It only takes a week or two to break a God-fearing man. Ease him in with the small talk.
Leaning through the bars, you see a cell opposite you, then one next to it, but that's all you can get from your vantage point. Even so, you can hear a voice from the cell next door to you that you can't see into, singing Riley along with the accompaniment of the ghosts in the other cells, a literal quartet.
You gotta bring me a little C4.
There's a muffled explosion from somewhere, and then dark water starts to rise up through the floor. The sight of it sends fear into your chest, gripping around your heart. You know that you can't let this stuff catch you, or you'll never get out of it. You've avoided it for so long, you can't let yourself think about it now. You close your eyes and press your hands to the door. You are not wherever this illusion is. You are on the quarantine area of the ship that your only remaining family lives on, where their friends and loved ones are, where your friend brought you when he saved your life. You know these things are real. You know your life, and you know what you're doing. If you don't focus on that, then all of that could be lost. These ghosts, and whatever the thing pretending to be Dave, will win. You cannot give into the emotions swirling around in this place and literally rising up past your ankles as you stand here. You press your hand to the door control, and when the door slides open and you open your eyes, you see the quarantine area of the ship again. The water is still swirling around your legs, and the music and singing are still going on, but you can look past them. You will push past them. You rush forward and lean against the flat wall in front of you. To your relief, the door stays right where it is, and the corridor and signs in it look familiar. Geography isn't warping around you anymore. That's good. That's good.
Feet hurt, hands are dirty. Walden's head supper ends round 5:30.
The voice isn't coming from anywhere. It's everywhere around you and inside your head. To your horror, you realize that you somehow knew the words before you heard them. This has to be the most intense haunting that you've ever experienced, and right now you really need to find other people. You push onwards against dark water that's just above your knees now. If you squint, you can see that it's not really there, not really real, but it's hard to convince your body of that. You focus on getting to someone else and on how the ground feels below your feet. If you don't focus on that, then you run the risk of the ground ceasing to be and dumping you in the black ocean that's trying to... Ocean? You never said it was an ocean, but the thought appeared in your brain anyway. That's dangerous. This is getting in your head. You absolutely have to fight this. Oh, this is some bullshit. You are not accepting this. Not at all. You forge furiously on through the dark water flooding the hallway, anger powering your grip on reality. You only falter when you hear another voice and you realize that you actually heard it. You can cover your ears and the new voice gets quieter when the rest of it doesn't. You struggle towards a door and hit the button to open it. From the sign on the door, you know that it's the men's room. You can't read Alternian yet, but you know that much. The voice is louder in here, and when you go through the second internal door, you see Gamzee. He's singing along with the song, his body bent over the sink. Dark water rushes over the edge of the basin and onto the floor around you, yet when you squint one eye, you can see that real water is running from the tap and over his motionless hands, then into the drain. It's only the supernaturally dark water that spills out over the basin, like his fingers are solid ink and they're tinting the water somehow. Gamzee! You hiss at him and grab him by the shoulder. You turn him to face you, getting ready to shout at him for his part in whatever this nightmare is, but your words die in your throat. Gamzee isn't looking at you, or more accurately, he doesn't have anything that could look at you. His eyes aren't yellow and purple, they're black and watery like the endless ocean that's trying to flood the place. Tinted black water is running down his face paint from his eyes, and when he sings the song, his voice is dreamlike, like a sleepwalker.
Do you slap the alien juggalo to see if he's still possessed? That seems like a bad idea, and also a string of words that confirms that you're in the very worst possible future. Despite this, you decide to shake him, as it's a little less violent, and also doesn't end with you getting grease paint on your hand. When you shout his name at him again, he finally comes back to himself. His eyes clear and refocus on you. He rumbles out some threatening Alternian words that have you scrambling for your translation screen.
The fuck do you think you're doing?
You were possessed! Didn't you hear that music? You demand, and wave your translator at him with your free hand. Gamzee rolls his eyes and shakes water off of his hands. The water that looks entirely normal now, as does the water that's running down the drain until Gamzee shuts it off.
He flicks some drops of it at you and then wipes the rest on his shirt before finally getting his own palm husk out. Don't hurry or anything. I wouldn't want you to put yourself out for this insane crisis that's happening right now. You bitch. Gamzee looks at his palm husk, clearly unimpressed. He then looks at you and somehow seems less impressed than before.
What are you talking about? Why are you so hopped up on fear and shit?
There was music and all these ghosts, these former balancers, I think, and they were all singing it. They warped the ship, and I ended up in at least one other ship, if not bits of even more ships. I managed to get back here, and you were singing the same song. Your eyes were wrong, and everything was wrong. You insist. Gamzee frowns at you, and then shakes his head.
I wasn't singing anything. All I did was come in here to wash my hands, and then you were in here grabbing at me and freaking out.
So he doesn't believe you. Fine. You can reason this out with him. So, do you normally not notice someone coming into a bathroom, walking over to you, grabbing you, and starting to shake you? Do you normally miss things like that? You challenge him, and that at least makes Gamzee pause.
I don't normally sing without knowing about it either.
Well, you were. I'm telling you, space went weird. I've never seen it that bad, and I've never seen that many ghosts working towards the same end. It was like they were a unit. Everything started to flood with inky water. It was so hard to get through it. I came here because I could hear an actual audible voice singing, not just ghosts. When I got here, there was dark water in here too, flooding over the sink and out of your eyes. You were singing the same song, and apparently you don't remember that. You tell him. To his credit, the clown doesn't immediately deny what you're telling him. He looks around the room and quietly hums a bar or two of something.
I don't remember that, and I don't remember you coming in here either. Like you said, that's not the kind of thing I normally miss.
You don't seem like the kind of person that someone can sneak up on easily. You agree.
Not many can get their sneak on to that level, nah. I don't feel anything wrong with the balance around here, though. Come with me.
Where are we going? You ask, hurrying after Gamzee as he strides out of the bathroom.
Jim? Aradia and me were sparring with Jake, keeping his mind off of the captain. Dave was there too, but I need Aradia if we're planning on getting a good look at the balance.
I got the impression that he wanted to be on his own after the exit that he made earlier, and I'm a little surprised that Jake wants to be around him after he was so pissy about them not executing his grandmother, you say. Gamzee pauses at the door to the gym, looking over your translated words on his device.
You've been here for like 5 fucking minutes. You don't know jack about shit with either of them, so keep your mouth shut. Besides, Dave's not talking right now. He acrobatically threw himself into the foam pit and hasn't come out.
He did what now? You follow Gamzee into the gym and look around. You can pick out Aradia and Jake, but no Dave. Your eyes catch on a set of acrobatic bars at offset heights, not that you know what they're called, and you spot the right-angled chunks of foam below them in some sort of pit. You have a vague memory of seeing people throwing themselves into them after doing insane stunts on video. There you are. I was starting to wonder if you'd fallen in.
What?
You were gone for a long time.
Supernaturally missing time. I'm just pointing that out again. You say to Gamzee.
Huh?
He says that he felt something and saw something, that the dead balancer ghosts were singing and made everything get unreal.
Dead balancer ghosts? As opposed to, what, living ones?
Man, shut up. Old Dave said he found me singing it too, but I don't remember that shit at all.
It definitely happened, you insist, letting the old Dave thing go for now. You have bigger fish to fry. Did you recognize the song, or does the song mean anything? Isn't it you guys who normally start a song, and not the ghosts? Usually, yes. Ghosts can sing by themselves, of course, just like you can, but they don't sing to affect the balance like we have to do. You eye the foam pit that Not Dave is apparently in, and wonder if someone did start the ghosts off after all. Then again, if he's been in here with other people the whole time, then that's less likely. He could have sung the song in a whisper, but that seems unlikely.
Look up what song it was. Don't sing it, in case it's your motif.
Yeah, last time someone did that, everyone died. You mutter to yourself and start typing out the lyrics that you can remember. As you search for it, you see the minimized translation pane show you Aradia's attempt to correct you, saying that almost everyone died, but you meant what you said. You get a hit on the song when you try the lyrics in English and turn your palm husk around to face the others. Jake isn't a balancer, but he leans in to look at it curiously, and he murmurs the words to himself in English, so your phone translates that too. To the water Father Finley walks, hardly bothered by the 10-pound lock. Sorry, I couldn't carry a tune in a specially made bag, even if I tried my hardest. That doesn't translate well to Alternian. Listen. To the water Father Finley walks, hardly bothered by the 10-pound lock. The translator faithfully spits out the same lyrics both times, but the syllables and measure of the song are all wonky in Alternian, which raises the question as to what language you were hearing Gamzee sing it in, or if that's just more supernatural bullshit too.
That'd be why it's not one that we're familiar with. It's both complex and not popular enough to keep it in English, and it doesn't translate well. That's why it's not in your supernatural karaoke menu, then?
I vote we call it that.
I also vote they call it that.
Overruled. Still, that's an odd song choice for the ghosts, though. Or Dave or Gamzee.
I've never heard it before. You confirm. I still don't remember this. It's not even familiar in English.
Well, finger in the air, the balance doesn't feel off to me right now. We could do a proper check and balance to be sure, though.
Yeah, we should.
Gamzee and Aradia settle themselves almost meditatively. They're then joined by their ghosts. You haven't seen much of either of these two, aside from the time you witnessed Gamzee's ghost get the shit beat out of him by Not Dave. The pair of them begin to sing, but you're not paying attention. You were already watching the pit when they started, so you get to see the foam blocks jerk and then a hand burst free, like the payoff of every zombie movie where the dead claw their way out of their graves. Vriska appears at the edge of the foam pit and watches as Not Dave struggles to get upright. Not Dave hauls himself up and locks eyes with you immediately. Unsettling glowing red and a sea of black, pinning you in place. Aradia and Gamzee sing in the background, apparently oblivious to what you can feel as you look at the monster in your great-grandson's place. You can feel the tide pulling you toward him, your footing becoming unsteady, like sand eroding out from under you with the receding water. Your eyes widen when your ghostly grandson fades into view at the edge of the pit as well, his appearance making ripples in water that only you can feel. He crouches down and says something quietly to Not Dave. You stare as Not Dave winces and then rubs at the back of his neck, even yawning like he had nothing more than a little nap in there.
What are you looking at?
He finally asks you, moving to the edge of the foam pit.
Good question.
You reply quietly. Not Dave goes to push himself up out of the foam pit with his hands, only to wince and stop. He pulls his hands back quickly and doesn't try again, looking like he's completely fine with being where he is. Jake says something that you don't bother to check on the translator. He moves past you to Not Dave and stands on the edge of the pit. Jake laughs in a gentle and self-effacing way, crouching down and reaching an arm out towards Not Dave. You glance down at your translator every now and then, but you're almost afraid for Jake, as if you could look away and Not Dave will have dragged him under like something from Jaws.
The number of times I've got stuck in this thing, I swear. There's no grateful exit.
Graceful exit.
There's no graceful exit.
You're fine. I'm fine. It's nothing.
And getting out is worse than being in a pool. There's no ladders, and you just have to push yourself out.
Yeah. Yeah.
The angle on that is nasty, too, and not to mention it's got everyone else's sweat all over it. Very gross. I could... Oh, yes, that's the ticket, if that's all right with you. Excellent. I promise not to twirl you around bridal style.
Don't.
Oh, of course not. Dirk gets so jealous, you know.
You made it weird.
Jake pulls Not Dave out of the foam pit awkwardly, getting his arm around his back and pulling him by the torso. Not Dave looks like he's trying not to touch Jake at all in the whole process, his arms pulled back away from Jake, despite the obvious help that he's trying to offer. Still, Jake keeps chattering the whole time and gets them both far away enough from the foam pit without a problem.
I've still got my palm husk. Do you have yours?
Oh, yeah, I do. I do not want to go diving in there for that.
When Chahed was recovering from her big injury, she had to have dental repair work done. She lost her retainer in one of these once. So gross. I dread to think what else might be in there. Better out of it than in, I think.
Super gross, Jake. Oh, hey, you really didn't lose it.
Sure enough, Jake's alien phone starts beeping up a storm, and he steps back a little bit to look at it. Not Dave chills out a little when he's not being so closely observed and touched.
I'm guessing that you didn't feel anything wrong before I came in here with Gamzee.
You say, simply.
Can't say. I don't know when you came in. I guess I was napping or something.
Not Dave says. How convenient. The two of you look at one another, not disturbed by Jake's phone chiming away or the quiet discussion between Gamzee and Aradia. Not Dave isn't even blinking, and his stare is so intense that you think you can feel it in the inside of your skull.
If you keep staring at me, then you and I are gonna have a real problem,
he says, his voice low but very ominous indeed. You open your mouth, intending to tell him that he already is a problem and you're fully aware of him, or maybe you were going to ask what he was going to do about it. Perhaps he could elaborate on it in this room full of witnesses. You don't get to do any of that, though. Jake makes a broken noise and stumbles backwards, falling onto his ass as he stares down at his phone in horror. You don't need the translator. You already know what no in Alternian is, especially if it's repeated over and over.
Jake, you feel real bad. What's wrong?
Jake? What's going on? No, I don't understand. This can't be right. Jake scrambles for whatever the equivalent of his phone application is and starts a call, pressing the device tightly to his ear. Everyone else shares equally confused and concerned looks, but it doesn't seem like any of you know what's going on. Your translation isn't much help. You're only getting half of the conversation, and it's fragmentary at best. A lot of, how could this happen? What do you mean? How? All things like that. Your attention flickers to the ghosts at the edge of the pit. Vriska is seething, and her anger is directed entirely at your grandson. At Sophia's son, the one you saw during that song. He doesn't seem confused at all. Instead, he's watching Jake intently. Jake lowers his phone and ends the call, clearly devastated and confused all at once. I don't understand how this happened. It doesn't make sense. How what happened? What's wrong? My grandmother is dead.
What?
Oh my god. How did she die? Nepeta was just talking to us about her, and she... That's what I don't understand. She was fine after the court ruling. She was retired and confined in her section of Reklay's ship. She was fine. There was nothing wrong with her. Was it a heart attack or something stress-related? I'm so sorry, Jake. No, she...
Take a second, man. Get it straight and tell us. Be calm.
She died. It was asphyxiation, technically, but... Oh, did she... I mean, she was removed from her command, so... No, she didn't do this to herself. I'm pretty sure that she can't just remove all of the air from the room. Nepeta said it was like she was spaced. The whole thing. The moisture boiling, eardrums bursting, air ripped out of your lungs deal.
What?
There wasn't a leak. Nothing in the ship failed. She was in the middle of the ship. She was in the middle of the ship, alone, in a locked room, and she got spaced. Every room around that one was fine. There was no malfunction. Unreality. It has to be.
We just balanced. There's no way anything like that was going on. Their ship isn't that far away from ours.
I don't understand. You understand just fine. All of those ghosts, all of the ghosts that have been all up in Not Dave's business since you got here, they all throw some fucked up supernatural song, and the former captain of this ship just happens to die. She just happens to die in the exact same way that your actual great-grandson did. You stare at whatever this thing is. You had time to try to work out what it was before, but not now. Now, it's killed someone. You hiss at Not Dave. You did this. That's not going to go well for G. Dave. That's what I think. What do you guys think? Well, that, my friends, is the end of the chapter. One might even say, confirmation bias the chapter. That's what I'd say. How we feeling? Unda is feeling mischievous. That tracks. Do you guys want to see something dumb? I made something dumb last night. I made something dumb that was made for the minuscule overlap in a very lopsided Venn diagram target audience. And I don't remember what no, yes I do. I remember. It's right here. So, I almost don't want to joke on it yet, because, you know, it's got to soak in. Shit's fucked up. Shit's fucked up, and it's not getting better from here. This right here, some shit is about to happen. Some shit is about to happen. This cannot go well. That's right. Unfortunately, I am also a complete and total dork. There's no way this goes well. I've been saying this from the beginning. There's no way that this goes well. For anyone involved, probably. I have no idea what the shit and fuck is about to happen. But it won't be good. It will be bad. And everyone will be unhappy. But it's also such... That's true! But that's because you feed on our anguish. And what I feed on is jokes that are only funny to me. This ending line for this chapter is both short and impactful. And very cliffhangery. Which is often how an Adventure Zone Amnesty episode would end. And I'm sure that train of thought was at least partially influenced by the fact that when I was reading this chapter last night for today, I did have the Amnesty soundtrack on. Because I like it. I looked at this and I was like, I can basically hear the drop of that music right after delivering that last line. So... So, with all of that, do you want to hear something dumb?
Look, it fits perfectly. Okay. Here is something dumb.
She was in the middle of the ship, alone in a locked room, and she got spaced. Every room around that one was fine. There was no malfunction. Unreality. It has to be.
We just balanced. There's no way anything like that was going on. Their ship isn't that far away from ours.
I don't understand.
You understand just fine. All of those ghosts, all the ghosts that have been all up in Not Dave's business since you got here, they all throw some fucked up supernatural song, and the former captain of this ship just happens to die. She just happens to die in the exact same way that your actual great-grandson did. You stare at whatever this thing is. You had time to try to work out what it was before, but not now. Now it's killed someone. You hiss at Not Dave. You did this.
So anyway, I took a fair amount of time last night making this, and I couldn't stop cackling the entire fucking time. It works so well. The timing. And yes, I laugh at my own jokes harder than I laugh at anyone else's jokes. Oh, I might after today's VOD is uploaded, I might upload that in isolation, because it's so funny to me. Shit. Anyway, all music credits to Griffin McElroy, and wow, it's not even 7. I wasn't expecting that. Oh my god. Yeah, see, here's the thing. Now that I've been fucking around with like audio and video very basic editing, I can just make like audio shit posts like that now. And it's not a problem. A world has been opened to me. I hate to disappoint, but I'm not really the predicting type. I'd say it extraordinarily likely it picks up right where this left off. Like in media res or whatever. And if it doesn't, then it's backing up. It's not a skip. It's like we retrace some time steps and then lead up to this. Because we will absolutely, but as far as like tension, right where this leaves off. Now, as far as perspective, and me and Wander Diz, if it's no, I wouldn't break your bones. I'd put them in the ocean. No, I'm just kidding. No. But yeah, no, my money is on right where this picks up or backing up from someone else's perspective. My money... Okay. As far as perspectives, let's talk perspectives. Well, there's 2 point. There's 1 point. There's even 3 point. No, that's art nerd joke. It has been a bit since Dave. Okay. Me and Wander have recently quizzed ourselves on the perspectives and titles for every chapter of the fic. And I did pretty good. I'm not gonna... We both did pretty good. But I did pretty good. And one thing that we noticed is that there's never... Yeah, no, I literally can't believe that. Stop fucking calling me out. Shut up. I'll hurt you. No, I won't. I like you. You're my snibbing and I yike you. But, we noticed that it's never more than 4 chapters between the same person. So, like, no, I won't pull up an example. I won't. Listen, me dumb. I'm stupid right now. I spent all the brain cells on saying words good. Now I get to say words bad. But so 60 was Dave, 61 was Carcat, 62 was Solix, and then now we have G-Dave exclusively. So, technically speaking, we've got David home! Technically we haven't had a Dave chapter, it's just a different Dave. But, I think... Truthfully, I would not put my money on 64 being our Dave. Because tension. What if G-Dave's right? He's not, but what if he was? So, and like... whatever is happening. We don't know what is happening. And so it would make more sense for it to not be him. Which leaves us... Okay. So if not our Dave... Right, that's true. That's technically not out of the question. But largely... Okay, I don't... Okay. What I'll say is I don't have a prediction for who it's going to be. I just have a prediction for who it's not going to be, and I already said that. Unless... Because let's be real, the reason that I'm not the predicting type, as I said, is because I am often wrong. And I'm not very analytical. And I'm not very smart. And all of these things. And I prefer to just sit and watch what's going to happen. I would rather sit and watch what's happening instead of try to speculate about what might happen. Mainly... Yeah! I don't like to be wrong, and I'm stupid! But also, like, predicting just doesn't come to me very naturally. Like, you prompting me... I can be both. Yeah, like, I can't theorize, I can't predict.
it's just not within my brain's capabilities. I didn't come with that program pre-installed. And so prompting me and asking me, it's like, well, what do you think is going to happen? Bitch, I don't know. I predict that I will scream a lot. Guaranteed winner. I don't know, something. I predict that it will go poorly. What does that mean? What does that look like? Are there any more details? Yeah, you're asking the wrong guy. Numerically, going based off of the pattern, that being, usually if we haven't heard from someone in a while, they'll come back. Like, there's never been more than 4 chapters between, like I said before. After our Dave, Carcat is the next longest we've gone without hearing from. But it's not out of the question that the next chapter could be a repeat. Repeats are not off the table. Or it could be it could be anybody is what I'm saying. It could be anybody. Because these sort of like 1 2 3 2 1 patterns have been seen. We could go backwards. Or it could be someone else. It could be a non-major. Yeah. It could be anybody. Right. Hell, we could hear from Gamzee again. That's happened. That happened twice. He was there. He's right here. He's right here in this room. He saw the shit. It could be. It's not off the table. Yeah. So basically, you know what I bet? If I had to predict something, which again, big disclaimer, I'm mad stupid. I can't predict for shit. And I will probably be wrong. But if I had to predict something, yeah, that's what. Yeah, we were talking about this before, me and Wander, in DMs, and we were like, it would be so neat to hear from Aradia, actually. I love Aradia. Aradia's cool. Shoutouts to women. But, if I had to predict, next chapter, perspective could be anybody except for our Dave. But this escalates very poorly, but then we figure out something. And then the chapter after next is Dave, and we get to figure out, we get to sort of see his perspective of, well, I guess this is a thing that's true now. I guess this is a thing I'm gonna have to get used to. That's what I would predict. If I was a predicting person, which I'm not, I would bet exactly $0 on that happening. I would I would bet exactly $0 on me being right ever. I'm not saying that I would bet dollars on me being wrong. I'm just saying that I would not bet dollars on me being right. The only winning move is not to play! Anyway. You know what I need to do? You know what I need to do? I need to upload the VOD! I also need to upload edited version 26, which means I have to make it. But yeah, I'm gonna freaking fucking get out of here now. And you are welcome to do that as well. And yeah, I can do that while the VOD is uploading. You're so right. It's called multitasking. And what? Yeah, I can. Oh, yeah. Go drown. Yeah, holy shit. It's so fucking... It's 7 here. And... Oh, no. I don't remember the numbers. But... That sounds unhappy. That sounds like an unhappy time to be awake. But yeah, go drown is a thing that she said. Have bed. Have bed. Yes, take a good, have a care. Do the eep. All that. And, I will be back here, but take a bed. I will be back here on Friday with more Pikmin 2. And apparently new chapter soon, maybe. So, cool and great. Cool and great. Pikmin 2. Yep. Wait! That's actually a good thing you could call it, because that's the game that introduces electricity as a hazard! And it's the one where electricity is the most dangerous! That's really funny! You did a good joke! Okay. Have a wonderful night, y'all. I'm gonna upload the VOD now. See you later!